intensity. So your question, why is not everyone looking for this? Because if we meet the truth, our whole body-mind system cannot digest it. We are in shock. We experience death. And we have no education that tells you what it really is. That this is a good sign.
Yeah.
When you feel scared by coming to a master, for instance, you're on the right way. But don't run away. When you get scared and there's resistance when you meet a master, don't run away, you're on the right place. But no, we humans are different. When there's resistance, we leave him or her.
Yeah.
That's the old mind.
We get scared.
We get scared.
Totally scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you are on the path, you say, every fear that might show up, I encounter. Everything I encounter live. That's actually a commitment. And I don't care how it looks like. If it looks bitter, I encounter the bitterness. If it looks wonderful, I encounter the love and the wonderfulness. But this is not the attitude of human beings. This is exceptional. We just want to feel good.
It reminds me of a story where there's a man searching for God, and he's searching everywhere, and people point at God. He lives on the mountain. And he comes to the mountain, he sees a sign on the door, here lives God, and he turns around and walks away.
Yeah.
Because he goes, I want to keep on searching.
Mm-hmm. And this is my experience with human beings. I know people that have been studying Advaita for 30 years, and they have a mental understanding of it. So not an existential understanding. And in satsang with me, they really started to cry and to shout. They say, everything is emptiness. And they were shaking, their whole body was shaking. I'm disappearing, help me. And they were so scared. I said, you have been looking for this for 30 years. You have been reading about this for all those years. Now it starts working. And they were so scared and they never came. And I'm sure they are on the search now. They go to satsangs and they meditate, I'm sure. Yeah. And I don't blame that. I don't judge that. I know we human beings are so afraid for ourselves.
Crazy, isn't it?
It is. It's so absurd. But it's because we identify ourselves more than we could ever imagine to our personality, to our past, to our convictions, everything. And only when you are ready to surrender everything, you might receive what speaks all the time already to you.
It reminds me of another story where there are French prisoners who were locked up for 20 years in darkness. Suddenly soldiers came, they opened up the cage and they said, come out. They didn't want to come out.
Exactly.
They thought, let me stay in the darkness.
Yeah. And if you like to see a wonderful movie about this, The Shawshank Redemption is about this. It's not only about a prison where the inmates actually feel attachment to being there, and there's only one man who wants to get out of jail, and everyone thinks he's crazy that he wants to get out of it. But he does. This is exactly how it is in our societies. So it's exceptional that one really wants to leave the prison and enter the unknown. Everyone wants to make his life as comfortable as possible inside of the prison. Yeah.
Even when the door is wide open.
Oh yes. In that movie you can see that one man surprisingly was being released after being there for more than 20 years. He hanged himself within a week. He had no identity outside. He had no job. He didn't know where to go. And he did not understand the world he came in. Yeah. Because 20 years is a lot. So much is changing in 20 years. He didn't know how to cope with the reality he was facing.
The real world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is our story, that's difficult for us. So to think about it, that's okay. To read about it, fine. To discuss about it, etc. To meditate even about it. But when you start really disappearing, dissolving, in reality, the whole system starts to resist. There's attraction, but then when it gets too deep, you go back. And to surpass these kind of tendencies is in us, that's quite something. I never say underestimate it. We are born enlightened or realized, and you just have to forget about the denial of it and then enjoy. It's great to say, but let's see if your everyday situation shows that saying, is an expression of it. Life is honest.
Yeah. There's no shortcut. You have to go.
I mean, a shortcut, everybody can go from where he is right now in his experience to what he has always has been. That's quite short. I don't know, there's not much distance. So one of the things I say, it's not a teaching, but I'm indicating to people is, come closer. And with coming closer, that can mean come closer to me. But what am I? You don't find here somebody. So I also say, when I say come closer, of course, to yourself. Be intimate.
Yeah.
And this intimacy is actually not an accurate word, because closeness is still an expression of distance. So I say, take away all the distance that's between you and your reality. And then you fall together with what you are. Then that one you thought you are, or that was conditioned to be someone, dissolves in what you always have been. And enlightenment is the most intimate that exists. There's nothing more intimate, because you enter life, you enter yourself, and you dissolve in it. You don't come back and can say, hey, now I am enlightened, or now I am this or that. You dissolve in it. There's nobody enlightened. Yeah. And then years again, because that system, and then I just look at the nervous system in the mind, is conditioned for millennia. And it needs to reset. So for years and years, that these energies are resetting. And that's intense. It can keep me awake in the night for hours. And this is for everyone unique, how that process goes. Until it is completely embodied. So this is for me so important, that our humanity, the way we function, is not separated from what we are. And that reminds me too of how I was as a young boy. So uncomplicated. Maybe you remember how long a day appeared when you was 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's like eternity. If I looked when I was 6 to the people that was in the 6th class of my school, I actually had something, I will never go there. That is eternity. Another 6 years, I will never get 12 years old. This is so far. One day is already eternity. And then 6 years. What is that? And slowly, slowly, that happens to us. That open, eternal, timeless perception we lose. And we come in patterns. And we live in getting up at a certain time and having the rituals of a newspaper or a television program and our holidays, and something of that openness or magic starts to narrow. And then time starts running. The perception of time is so different than years ago. And when people come here, closer to their being, closer to what they always have been, it opens again. And they experience their timelessness again, experience that openness and that mystery again. And that's possible also when you are 50 years old, 60 years old.
Age has nothing to do with this.
No, but when we live for 50 years identified, the structure has been so thick, it's like concrete. And if you then start to dismantle it, there's so much poison in it. There are so many convictions and tensions in it. And you was identified by the tensions. By your unhappiness, by your boredness, by your dullness.
You have a lot invested in them.
Yeah.
Also.
You have always invested in your identity.
So it's
your
hard
education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not, when you're getting older, you're not that willing to give that up because you have so much time invested in it, energy, stories, money.
Exactly. So sometimes people come to me, they say, I'm already for 30 years on this path. And I say, better whisper this. Don't speak out loud. You might say this as to show that you are not a beginner anymore, but if I'll be honest and I see the result of it, maybe you better whisper.
That's nothing to be proud of. No.
Look at the result. If you study mathematics for 30 years and you still don't know the ABC of it, better don't shout out.
Thanks for this great talk, Naropa. We've been talking in time for more than an hour. At last, some practical information. You give retreats in the Netherlands, but also in foreign countries.
Yes, you're right.
Which ones?
Most are in Czech Republic. Retreats are here in Holland, 5-day retreats, the silent retreats, and in Czech Republic 5-day retreats, silent retreats, and also 10-day retreat. Next week we have one. But I also have, we call it sometimes summer retreats or traveling retreats. Then we are not in silence. We live together for 10 days. We have satsang, but we also swim in the ocean, climb mountains, go to the opera, whatever. Exploring the world, enjoying the world, within and without.
Yeah. All information can be found on naropa.eu.
That's it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my friend.
Yes, so much welcome, Patrick.
Let's see. That's amazing, isn't it? Let's see if we got this thing. So the ash almost got you stuck in London.
Yeah, we in fact we came by train just to make sure because we still couldn't get a confirmation on our plane. We booked the plane weeks ago, but we still couldn't get a confirmation that they were going to fly yesterday, so we got a train.
Okay. Let's see, we got this. People need to see your head, but also your amazing bodies.
Well, that one you've got to, I mean, you know.
Okay. So it's all about you at this moment. Is my voice. We edited between.
Yeah,
so
I know.
We got your voice on the thing. That's the. Okay, sitting here with Tony Parsons. My first question: what is Tony Parsons like?
What is Tony Parsons like? Well, in a sense, like he always was, really, quite enthusiastic and passionate about this subject. What can I say? There's no difference in that sense. The personality and the character is there. The sound of the voice and hasn't really changed from before all of this happened. So I would say pretty alive, cheerful, rude, irreverent, with a tremendous passion about freedom, which has always been there. It's a tremendous thing about freedom and freedom for people, in a sense. Although that, and yeah, that's it.
And any difference between Tony Parsons in childhood and Tony Parsons now? Or
I don't know. I think there is something that develops sort of from childhood. There's always been a sense of a childlikeness there. And then, of course, we all grow up. I grew up in the world and had to manage my life in the world. Or so I thought I was managing. That's another subject. And then all of this came along, and I wrote The Open Secret, or The Open Secret was written, and then suddenly about 2 years after that, the whole thing exploded into just doing talking. Before that I was a businessman, and I love business. I like business.
What kind of business?
I was a builder in England. I ran a building business in England.
Okay.
And then Claire and I ran a publishing business, and then The Open Secret started to snowball talking, so we had to give all of that up because we were too busy with this.
Yeah.
But I love talking to people. I quite like writing a bit, but not nowhere near as much as going and talking to people about.
Why is that? Is that
it's more alive?
Energy?
Yeah, it's more something to do with being very alive, and the interconnection with people is the thing I most love. Also the laughter and the fun.
Yeah.
And also going deeply with people into this subject, which I'm totally passionate about, but in a particular way. I think some people think I'm a bit, I don't know quite how to put it. They think the way I communicate this is very singular and different to the way most people do. I have a particular passion about the nature of what people call non-dualism. As far as I'm concerned, most of the non-dualism that is supposed to be communicated is not non-dual.
No, what's it about?
It's still, for me, most communications that are supposed to be non-dual or actually are still offering something to a person. As far as I'm concerned, that is not what non-duality is about.
So you don't give people anything, except a good after. You don't give people anything.
There's nothing available at all for the person, because the whole essence of the message is that it doesn't recognise that there is such a thing as a separate person. So it doesn't communicate to a separate person or offer them any help or anything at all. It simply is. It's a twofold message, I would think. One is that it illuminates or exposes the whole structure and apparent dilemma of seeking in such a way as to show that the whole kind of construct of the person or the apparently separate person is illusory or dreamlike and has no foundation. But except it's the thing that drives people on to seek. So it illuminates the futility of seeking. It doesn't make it wrong. It's not trying to make anything wrong. It doesn't say that, seeking and separation are just as much an expression of wholeness as anything else.
Yeah.
But the message illuminates the dilemma for the seeker. And then the other thing, as far as I'm concerned, that's most powerful is not spoken, is something that's energetic. Because as far as I'm concerned, separation is something that's embodied. When we become separate, we feel it in every part of us, and it disturbs and influences the whole of our experience and makes our experience of life very unsatisfactory. Is this okay? I'm going on like this?
Yeah, of course. Go on. No, I'm just curious if it's... Yeah, it's recorded. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And it influences the whole sense of being someone. All the time you're separate, you don't see a tree, you don't see a person, you don't see life as it really is. You see it through a film of separation. So energetically, there's a feeling of being held, contracted in the body. So for me, the other most powerful part of being together, being open about this, is energetic. And in some way or other, that contracted energy can lift into the boundlessness, which for me is so-called liberation.
But isn't this the same thing that happens with a great sports event? People come there to lose themselves. Yeah. A great concert, a dance party.
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen in
it's
anything,
a good party,
anything extreme or deep or joyful. It can happen making love. It can happen jumping out of an airplane, with or without a parachute.
Yeah.
It's like those extreme situations can create a situation where there's no sense of anyone. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it can also happen walking down the road, of course.
Yeah.
Buying shoes. Oh, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It has to be like that. There can't be any condition. Liberation doesn't happen through any circumstance at all.
Yeah, but you only think afterwards or before that event made you feel that way, or not? Or
No. I don't think it does. And for me, there are no circumstances that bring this about. It just comes out of nowhere, because it is out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that we can't know, and it's the one thing that can't be induced by anything.
And can be talked about.
No, it
But,
can't.
yeah.
Well, you can talk around it. You can talk about what it isn't, but you can't. You can't describe beingness, because it's indescribable. Absolutely indescribable.
So Tony, no one is the same. If you look around, yet everything is one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the wonderful paradox.
Yeah.
The joy is that everybody's totally different,
Yeah.
or everything is totally different.
You never
In the same-
find one person.
No.
one thing
It's
that's
utterly
exactly
unique.
the same.
Totally
yeah.
unique. Everyone and everything is a totally unique creation, and yet it is the absolute expression of wholeness. Nothing is apart.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's miraculous.
So there is no such thing as my life.
No, except that we have to be clear about this. For the separate person, they feel very strongly that their separation and their longing and their frustration is very real for them. I'm not saying that for a moment. It's absolutely real. I know it because I was like that. So you can't go around saying to people, well, all there is wholeness, so separation is absolutely fine, because that's bollocks. It's just nonsense to say that.
Yeah.
Because for the separate person, there's a real feeling of being imprisoned.
Yeah. But it's also this, so we
totally.
don't have to reject that.
No, nobody's
People
rejecting
thinking
it.
they have a reputation and a career. And no.
Not reject it. No. But see it for what it really is. Illuminate it.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
And then you still play your part, because people always say, but when I go live like that, I don't get out of bed, I don't wash my hair, brush my teeth.
Nonsense. But some people say, well, what you're saying, Tony, is that there's nothing that can be done, so I'll do nothing.
Yeah.
But doing nothing is doing nothing. It's just bullshit. You can't escape. You can't escape.
No. So Tony, people who think they carry a lot of pain inside, old pain, any advice for?
No, I don't. I absolutely don't give any advice at all, because that would be a complete reversal of the nature of this message. The nature of this message is absolutely singular and radical and completely uncompromising. So it doesn't attempt to help the person in any way at all, because there's no recognition that there is a person, a separate person. So pain happens. Suffering happens, longing happens. All those things just are what happens. And all that can happen here is to illuminate the dilemma of trying to make that change, because the dilemma is that there's no such thing as free will and choice. There is only what happens. So directly you start to give somebody a choice, or suggest that in some way or other they can become liberated, or liberation will happen to them if they really listen to this message, then you're back in the wheel of A and B, subject-object. Yeah. So,
okay, no problem. Let's see if we're still rolling on camera. Yeah. So Tony, Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now, very popular spiritual teacher. You once called him a monster, or the things he or is that just
somebody might
gossip?
have said I did. It's gossip.
Yeah.
Of course he's not a monster. There's no such person as Eckhart Tolle.
No.
There's no such person as Tony Parsons. Oh no. But there's no connection between what he communicates and what's communicated out of the MC. There simply is no connection, because again he is a teacher of becoming. It's what I call a teacher of becoming. He's teaching people that they have free will and choice, and they can move from A to B. So there's no connection between what he says and what's being. As far as I'm concerned, that is not non-dual.
Yeah,
that's absolutely is.
But he still emphasis on the now, and this.
But there is no now.
There is no now.
No. He emphasises that in some way or other you can go beyond thinking and be in something called presence. As far as I'm concerned, that's a teaching about how to move from one thing to another. So he is going on teaching people and influencing them and telling them that they can find something for themselves. There isn't anything for anyone to find, because nothing has ever been lost.
That's a great statement. But it still gives people a lot of me too. Before I saw your DVDs, Jeff Foster, it gives you a sense of peace. So it's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing right or wrong with anything at all. Everything is the absolute expression.
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle's communications are the absolute expression of wholeness. But also there's nothing wrong with exposing the futility of those teachings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. yeah.
But yes, there are all sorts of people out there, therapists and teachers and so on, who make the principle of the prison more comfortable.
The prison more comfortable.
Absolutely. And there's nothing. What's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing.
No.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's far more intelligent than religious instruction. It's far more up to date and intelligent. But it has no connection with what I call absolute non-duality.
Yeah.
The two don't meet. One is comforting her and helping people. The other one is pointing to something beyond that.
So you say even calling this only the now is
there isn't a now.
There is a now.
The now makes it another. I must now live in the now. It's like the girl looking in the mirror and saying, "Oh, tomorrow morning I'm going to start living in the now again." It's like living in the moment. How can anyone live in the moment? It's like how can anybody see their own absence? How can anybody know what this is? Because what is being talked about is totally unknowable.
And can't be grasped.
It can't be grasped. It can't be known. No. Nobody can ever know it. So, the idea of seeking for it is futile.
But isn't that what people always want? Trying to grasp anything.
Yeah.
Trying to catch little parts of life, or.
But what's interesting is that when people come to these meetings and hear something that's completely radically different and completely uncompromising, doesn't recognise the person or the separate person, something energetically happens. When people begin to hear about the whole illusion of the structure of the me and the seeker, it starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
And people come here and with something and walk out and leave something behind. It's happening.
Yeah.
Because something else absolutely recognises this absolutely radical and very simple message.
Yeah.
They recognise it. Something resonates, not with the person, but something else resonates. That's beyond the whole idea that there's anything defined.
But isn't everything a recognition in?
No, not necessarily.
World, no?
In the separate world, there's a lot of in the world of the individual. There's a lot of influence that keeps the individual reinforced and supported in their individuality. If you think about the media and all of that, it goes on encouraging the idea of individuality and celebrity. So the world we live in definitely reinforces a sense of being separate.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
No, because it's there.
It's wholeness playing the game of being separate.
But talk about recognition, the things that really touch you, like pain you see in other people, or a beautiful piece of art. That's recognition of
it's
of,
an
of
emotional.
oneness.
It's in no.
No.
It's an emotional. Invariably, it's an emotional recognition. It's to do with the emotion of the person about the emotion of another person, or a work of art, or an attempt to celebrate life. There's nothing wrong with that either, but oneness is not to do with an emotion. It's beyond emotion.
You can't recognize it.
It's
in
totally
anything.
unrecognised. No. Nobody can ever describe it. We have people who are becoming liberated all over the place, and they keep on saying to me, "Tony, I've listened to you, and you've tried to describe oneness, and you can't describe it to me, and I now can't tell you what's happened here. I can't describe it. Nobody ever can." One of the most interesting things about wholeness is that it remains hidden from the seeker by being everything already.
Yeah.
That's how it remains hidden. It's everywhere. Everybody is in it, in a sense, but of course they feel they aren't, and they feel that they're in a story of me, which is a story about finding oneness, and that's the dilemma. It'll never be found.
For the seeker.
No.
No.
The seeker will never find. The most effective way to avoid oneness is to seek it.
Yeah. But you could see it like a hobby. Spirituality, you could see it like a hobby. Buying CDs, reading
That's
books.
true.
It's nice.
For some people it's a nice hobby, but for other people there's such a longing, such a pain, such a frustration.
No, I can't get it.
Absolutely. It's much more than a hobby for a lot of people.
Yeah, I got stacks of books and CDs, and then I look at them and I think, it was a nice way to spend my time.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
some people play the slot machines, and I read all kinds of books and DVDs. Yeah.
Oh, in
Why
that
not?
way, it's quite pleasant, but for
Yeah.
a lot of people, it's much more desperate than that.
They grasp onto it.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
They long for it. Why not? I mean, if you feel you've been cast out of wholeness, all you long for is wholeness. There's nothing else that's good enough.
Yeah.
Ever.
Let's see. I'll take another track. Okay. Still got.
Yeah, well, fine. I don't actually start at 2. Because people,
Yeah.
especially in Amsterdam, funny enough, come in late.
Yeah. And a lot of people sitting in the.
And in Ireland too. If you go to Dublin, they're all tailboats.
Yeah?
Coming half an hour
Yeah?
after or even
Say
an hour.
hello.
Amazing.
Hello.
Amazing.
So you once called this the perfect lover.
Yeah, the perfect oneness, wholeness is the perfect lover because it never leaves you. Again, when liberation happens, people say to me, it's amazing because the thing I was looking for never left me. It was always here.
Mm-hmm.
It was always this, what is. And of course, it doesn't matter what anybody does. They can come to these meetings, or they can go watch football, or they can go and watch the pictures, or go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And what they long for never leaves them. It's constantly there, tapping them on the shoulder, saying, "Hello, I'm here already."
What's the thing between a man and a woman? Could we call that? Yeah, everything is love, but what's that?
I think for me the relationship, let's say between man and woman, although I think it's for anyone in any sort of relationship, we all have a male and female energy in us anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But male and female energy for me represents the apparent opposites that seem to appear out of nothing or oneness. Oneness appears two opposites, let's say male and female. The male energy is essentially more to do with detachment, and the female energy is more to do with devotion. It's more alive and emotional. Mm-hmm. And the two, I feel, are very, very attracted to each other and also repelled by each other, because there's something in each of them that frightens the other one. And for me, that's an absolute representation of what liberation is about. It's like the opposites are attracted to and repelled by each other. Many people are attracted to this message. When they come and hear it, they're repelled by it as well.
They run out of the room.
Oh yeah, they can do, or they don't like it because it's so confronting. This is a message that's deeply confronting. So the female and the male are attracted and repelled because somewhere it's absolutely known that if they really come together and melt into each other, they'll be lost. They'll lose their identity, which is what liberation is.
Yeah.
Liberation is just the loss of identity.
And what happens during sex, for instance?
Yeah, absolutely. It can do. It depends.
Yeah.
There could be 4 people in the room, or there could be no one in the room. You know what I mean? In that sense, there could be 2 bodies and 2 minds, or suddenly the whole thing will evaporate.
Yeah.
So for me, the male and female energy are just representations of the opposites that appear out of oneness and seem to activate apart, and then finally they come together. And of course, they were never ever apart.
Yeah. We only thought they were.
Yeah.
Okay. So everything is a story?
Well, only for the individual. The individual, as far as I'm concerned, the separate identity is the story. Mm-hmm. There's no story outside the separate identity. Directly the dream of separation arises, the clock starts ticking, and the story of me begins. Mm-hmm. Apparently. It's only apparent. Yeah. It's an illusion, actually. But within that story arises, I must make my life work, or I must find enlightenment, or whatever. Liberation is simply the collapse of that whole story. The whole idea that there is such a thing as time, destiny, deity, and all those things simply collapse at the point of liberation. There's nothing left but beingness, which is indescribable.
But frightening for the individual.
Frightening prior to liberation. Of course, after liberation, there's no one to be frightened because there is no one.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's only beingness, there's only isness, there's only life.
Yeah.
Just life happening.
So nothing special, or everything?
Oh, it's not special, no. Well, it's totally ordinary. After liberation, everything goes on as it did before, but for no one.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense it's completely ordinary, and in another sense it's simply wondrous. It's really remembering and coming back to childlike wonder.
Yeah.
The childlike wonder of
Who looks around and
the wonder of,
yeah.
woo!
Yeah.
So thereafter there's a living in wonder. It's not a great orgasmic thing. You don't go around having orgasms all over the place. But there is a gentle sweetness, a gentle wonder about everything. Anything.
All the time.
People, carpet, oh yeah, there's no one there anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to a person, there is just wonder.
Yeah. So the person doesn't pop up once in a
Oh
while.
no, there's no one.
You never
It
get
was
pissed
illusory.
off.
No,
You get pissed off in traffic.
pissed off can happen, but there isn't anyone that
Not
gets
being
pissed off.
off.
No, that whole idea of identity that owns something is not there anymore. Life, all there is free flow.
Mm-hmm. So all expressions of life, so irritation.
Oh yeah, joy, sadness,
sadness.
all
It's still,
absolutely,
yeah.
and even more so because prior to liberation, the individual is only half alive. After liberation, there is just life full on. There's
So
nothing.
you express it.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. So you don't hold back.
Well, it isn't that you don't hold back.
But prior, the
Oh,
person
prior.
holds back.
Yeah, the person
Well,
holds
ooh,
back, absolutely.
I can't sneeze.
But after that, there's nothing that they can't fart.
Yeah. Yeah.
But after that, there's nothing that holds back. There's nothing to hold back.
Yeah. But sometimes people call that, how's it called in Dutch? Asocial. You know what I mean?
The mind would love to turn this into something nasty.
Yeah.
It's totally impersonal. This message is absolutely impersonal. It has got nothing else but impersonality in that sense. So a lot of people actually think that it is nihilistic or not very loving or not very compassionate.
Yeah.
But as far as I'm concerned, the only compassion there is the compassion which illuminates the illusion of imprisonment. The only compassion there is that which sets free this apparently imprisoned person.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other compassion. The idea that you should be sympathetic or nice to people or try to help them in their suffering, for me is just another deal going on between people.
Yeah.
This is about something that's totally radical and uncompromising. It's love. It's about unconditional love, which doesn't compromise, doesn't please people, doesn't try to help people feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But this message is pointing to something beyond that whole drama.
Has your way of responding to questions out of the audience, has it changed during time? Or are you still more to the point than 10 years ago? Or?
Page 4 of the Open Secret, paragraph 4, says everything, and that's 12 years ago, 1997. So the basic message hasn't changed, but the wording has. I find that I'm dropping words like nobody's business because there are certain words that are very confusing. So it's much more simple and direct than it was, but it's exactly the same message.
Yeah, but still you are patient in telling it over and
Oh
over
no,
again.
I'm not.
No?
No. There isn't anyone here being patient.
Okay, but
There's just a response. This thing here might get, somebody asking, why is there suffering in the world? 3,000 times maybe I would know, but it's always uniquely new.
Freshly.
Because everything is new.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
there's not something here being terribly patient and saintly.
So only the person would go like,
Oh yeah, no.
here we go again.
No. Because we don't go anywhere again. It's always new.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. It's still fresh.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything
Yeah.
is. Everything is newness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, let's. Sitting here with Joris for our second talk. Joris Vinke, our first talk was in Dutch, and now a little talk in English. That's not our native language.
No.
We're both from Holland, so please excuse us if we don't sound American or English. You spend a lot of time in America.
A fair amount.
Yeah. First question that comes to mind is, what is the big difference between Europe and America?
Well, I think, it's all people. So both in Europe and America, you've got all kinds of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you could say that in general there is a big difference, and obviously, especially the United States, it's so big
Yeah.
that I mean, the difference between the different states is so huge. It's like between the Netherlands and Spain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it comes to mind because there's a lot of talk going on in the country where we live about differences, us versus them, and we're all searching for that unity, that feeling of sameness or something. Is that something that in America can be found more easily than over here in Europe?
I think we're all looking to belong to a group. As a human being, we're, you know, an animal that loves to be in a group.
Yeah.
And so we love to be with people that feel familiar. I think that's a very natural thing. And that's probably the source of where we start discriminating people. Of you belong to me and another person doesn't. I think in a sense that's the same anywhere you go in the world.
So the fight against racism is a useless fight?
I think it's more a fight against ourselves, because if I truly feel strengthened in my culture, in my, you know, wherever I feel at home, then anybody else with a different view of life is not a threat, but is actually making my life more rich, because they offer something that I didn't know before.
Yeah.
But if I'm a bit insecure about my life or myself, then yes, somebody else could feel like they're taking over, or they're changing what I feel is my tradition, which is often not really a tradition, but just something that a small group of people are used to doing for a couple of years.
So the threat doesn't come from outside, but the fear comes from inside.
Yeah, I think we humans are great at creating fear inside. Yeah.
We create it ourselves.
Of course. I mean, if you have 5 people, some will have fear, some won't. That's how we... I think it's human nature. We're focused very much on what's not right in both ourselves and the world around us. When we're young, we are asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? So we need to become something in order to be someone, instead of we're just someone and we just play and do a lot of things, which, you know, the fact that I study something or that I have a certain skill doesn't necessarily make me a better human being. But somehow the two got interconnected. If I got either a lot of money, or if I'm very spiritual, I've got very wise words, then I'm more valuable than somebody who doesn't have that. Yeah. And that's, I don't know where we got that. But it's very rooted in our society and in life.
Yeah, it's cool.
It probably starts the day we were born. You know, the moment we start walking, our parents go, "Hey, great that you're making your first steps." And then we start talking, and then indeed in school it's very much like that. You know, if your brain functions better than other kids' brain, you get a lot of applause for that.
And better grades.
Better grades.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a better paid job later on.
Yeah.
And so, but it works that way. If 10 people talk to us and 9 tell us how beautiful we are, but this one person will say, "I don't like this or that about you," it's that one person that we'll remember, that we think about.
How come?
I think because we never learned that there's very few people that tell us that how magical we are, how beautiful we are, that there's nothing wrong with us, that we don't need to become anything or do anything in order to be a miracle. The moment we are born, we are a miracle. We're breathing, our heart is beating, and it's so easy to step past that and say, "Oh no, that's not good enough." But with all our scientific technology that we have, we still can't make this pillow breathe.
No.
And so it's a miracle that what we are, and it's so easy to miss that.
Yeah, that's beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yours, can you tell us something about your spiritual path? When did it start and why did it start?
I have no idea why it started. It just started.
Yeah.
Even when I was in primary school, I was writing poetry and just wondering, why are we here? Why is life like it is?
Yeah.
And that curiosity just developed. And I think it's also part of why I love doing music, because that's an exploration into something that is very difficult to explain with our mind. Why is one song beautiful and the other one isn't?
Yeah.
And you can learn chords, but you can't really learn that.
Yeah.
And so I had that fascination always, and from there I started exploring whatever was possible, any book, any teacher that I could find, anything that was related to that journey.
Yeah. Anything in particular, any book that gave you that first glimpse of what you were searching for?
No, there wasn't anything specific. I think every person that writes, inspires a little bit, and definitely someone who inspired me a lot was Rumi. His poetry is, it's beautiful for the heart, but it's also very nourishing for our mind, because he writes a lot of things that are so, I don't know how to put that into words, but it's beautiful what he writes in such simplicity. And I learned a lot from people that made me search in places where I didn't find anything. Sometimes you need to travel the journey where you don't find it.
Mm-hmm.
If I could learn everything about how to play a piano, but unless I start playing it and making a lot of mistakes, I'll never learn to play the piano. No matter how much confidence I have, no matter how much knowledge I have.
So no regrets about some people you visited, books you read?
No, I have absolutely zero regrets. No, I'm very happy that I did all the things, even the things that were painful or that weren't, that didn't feel honest afterwards. Because sometimes it's you need that reflection. And in my case, it was very much that initially I used to do music, and that was my profession, and I was very much hoping that if I would be successful in the world, if I would have whatever hit records, I would be happy, or whatever word, fulfilled. And that didn't happen. I did have hit records, but I didn't feel rich. I felt lonelier than I ever had felt.
How come? Can you get an explanation?
I think there was a certain amount of disappointment when you realize, I had this dream when I was 16 of, having a top chart hit or something like that, or a golden record. And then when you have it, it didn't make me any wiser, or didn't make me any, I was still yours.
Yeah.
And, with a feeling of, I could do better, because whatever it is that you do, you can always do better. So that's like an endless journey. I can always do a better mix, or play better piano, and so it's an endless journey towards a tomorrow that never comes, because it's always a day away. And so I felt this is not, it's not bringing what I'm seeking. So I have to stop this journey of seeking it in the world. I have to find it inside myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I sort of walked away from all of it and started a journey very passionate with meditation and prayer, and that took me 10 years to discover. I realized that I was still running for a tomorrow that was better, because tomorrow I would be more still. Tomorrow I would be more kind. I would be more wise. Tomorrow I would have more knowledge. I would, whatever. There was always still this tomorrow. And in that running away from this very moment, it's so easy to miss the magic that we are. How magic, even the fact that I can think that I'm not good enough is a miracle. I mean, we look at, for example, a beautiful stone, whether that's a crystal or maybe the purest of diamonds, and we look at how beautiful its energy is. But that stone can never breathe the way we can breathe. It doesn't have a heart that's beating. It doesn't have thoughts, even thoughts of not being good enough. It can't do all of that. So we're 1,000 times more beautiful than that stone can ever be. And still we see ourselves as inadequate.
Yeah, not good enough.
And that is a miracle, that we are capable of seeing ourselves as inadequate is magical.
Yeah, but still we search for that completeness, that wholeness. We want to feel at ease. We want to feel at peace and be good enough. Can we blame someone or something? That's I'm still in that phase that I think, well, it's all because of society who tells me every day I have to buy this watch to be good enough. I have to drive this car and then I'm good enough. Can I blame capitalism for this feeling of not being right as I am?
You can blame anything or anyone, but the truth is you are good enough. You are absolutely good enough.
But who tells me that every day?
Nobody needs to tell you that, because even if you think you're not, it doesn't mean... So the fact that I think I'm good enough or not good enough doesn't change the fact that I am. I am divine. I mean, in the Bible it says we're created in the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
If that's really true, then then that's what we are. We are created in the image of divinity.
We are gods.
You could say that. But and that doesn't matter whether we think we are or not. It is what we are. It is our true nature, that we always are. So we don't need to find anything. We don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to become anything, because we are already everything, including the thoughts of not being good enough.
Yeah.
Maybe they're part of perfection as well. Maybe it's just a beautiful experience of an expression of God believing that it's not God, that it's not love, that there's even
something wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because even that, there needs to be a lot of love to have the feeling that something's wrong. That's
a good one. Can you say that once more?
There needs to be love to have the feeling that something's wrong. Because in the end it's an expression of this longing for wholeness, for being one again. And that's where any feeling of it's not right comes from.
Yeah.
But the core of that, where that feeling comes from, where it starts, is pure love.
Yeah. It could, some people say, and I can believe something in that it could become quite boring if I could sit all day thinking everything is perfect. So that's why I create that own drama, to have some opposite, to feel alive or to...
Yeah, well, my life is definitely not boring. Because I think life's not boring, people aren't boring. You meet so many different people, at least I meet a lot of different people, and I think we all do. And if we stop trying to fix them or stop trying to make them think like we think, I see it this way and so the other person has to see it like that. But if I can just be in awe for the miracle that they are, then suddenly even the most boring people become very interesting, because underneath whatever it is that moves them is a heart that's burning, is a heart that's longing for this completeness. And we all seek it in a different way. One seeks it in a new Ferrari, the other one in the next episode of their favorite TV show, and the other one in Advaita or their spiritual teacher or whatever.
Yeah, but what is it that we are searching for? Can you name that? Can you give that a label?
We're searching for what we are.
So
we want to know what we are.
Yeah. We're searching for home.
Well, we are home. But even if I'm in my home, I want to look around and enjoy my home.
Mm-hmm.
So why not explore life like that?
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. It's just that we sometimes fail to see that it's a miracle. But there's nothing wrong with anything. There's not one hair out of place.
Even Islamic State, who are fighting in Syria and Iraq and planting bombs, terrorism.
For our mind, that's almost impossible to believe or to understand. But the truth is, for most people, that is something that is not real in a sense. Because I've never met anyone there. I've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
So my life from day to day, that's not a part of it, except for what I would read in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Or so what happens is we sort of step away from our responsibility by saying there's a problem on the other end of the world and that's why I have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, but I take responsibility for who I am right now and how I interact with everyone that I meet. Because that will really change the world. If if everybody would inspire one other person, the whole world would be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
But because we complain about potential dangers that happen around the corner, which we never know, we have no idea whether we're going to be alive tomorrow. So why worry about things that might or might not happen?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of really focusing on, hey, there's someone sitting in front of me who is asking for my attention, for my love. We sometimes are so busy on reading social media that we don't see our kids, or that we don't see how our partner is asking for attention.
Yeah. So we use this danger and war in the world as an excuse of not being with our attention right here, right now.
Well, it's scary to be right here, right now, because that would mean that we would have to admit that, that we are not small, that we are, that we are everything. Because it's much easier to say I'm small and I don't know anything, and so I better make myself invisible, than to say, hey, I love you and I'm here for you. I haven't got any answers, but I'm still here for you and I'm listening.
Total openness, vulnerability,
yeah, but not from a naive place, but from a place of deep trust, knowing that what I am cannot really be touched. Somebody can hurt my body, but they can't hurt what I really am. And
can someone hurt my feelings?
Probably, yeah. But am I my feelings? Am I what I'm thinking?
We think we are that.
Some people do, I don't.
Yeah, no, but
I mean, there's a lot of thoughts, and some of them are lovely thoughts, and some of them are thoughts that, I don't find that interesting. Yeah. And so I don't have to silence them. These thoughts are still there, but I don't always have to listen to them. They're just, just like my hands, they're very valuable tools. Or just like my feet are great for walking, but they're not that great for, for operating a camera. Mm-hmm. Because my hands are better for that. And that's the same way with my thoughts, with my mind. They're great at a lot of things, and they're very efficient at for example, seeing danger when I cross the road, or when or when I need to calculate the amount of taxes that I need to pay. But they're not that great at explaining why my heart is singing, or why some music makes me cry and other music makes me upset. My mind can't explain that.
Yeah. And how come? There must be a time and place where you were believing all your thoughts and feelings, and you found out that it made you very down and depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Could you say that was necessary? Otherwise you would have never found out that you were creating your own drama?
I wouldn't say anything was necessary, because I don't believe that seeing illusion in a different way is necessary. It's just inevitable that at some point we start questioning, is what we think the world around us is like, if that's real. I think it's inevitable that at some point we start questioning that.
Yeah, but not for everyone. There are a lot of musicians also who they throw themselves off a cliff. They think they don't see it.
Well, maybe that's their way of finding life. I don't know. Because I don't know what happens, once our body is not alive anymore. And it's very easy to get into a very theoretical way of thinking about that and trying to figure out what if. And but if I stay in this moment and just, I'm sitting here and I'm breathing and I'm alive and I'm having a great conversation with you, then I don't need to worry about anything else and trying to have all the answers in my mind. I'm just amazed at all the questions we can come up with, because that is what makes human beings truly a miracle, that we have all these questions. And yes, there are 1,000 answers to every question, but to come up with these questions, just to wonder, why is my life like this, or why is this, or why, that is, if you look at small children, they go why all the time. They drive adults nuts with it. But how amazing is it that we have that skill of wondering and being, awed by life.
Yeah. So nothing wrong with questioning everything.
Questions are great. I love questions. I don't care that much about the answers, but the questions are great.
But maybe that's the difference. For me, a question is not that interesting. I want answers. I want truths. I want someone to tell me, no, there is no free will. Yes, you are in control. No, the world is an illusion. Certainties. That's what I'm looking for. But for you, no certainties, or just one certainty.
Well, but if everything was certain, how would we still be surprised? How would we still, if I knew for certain, if I was going to sit down now, that I would write a beautiful piece of music, how would that surprise me? So it's this whole dance where things go wrong, as we call them, and things go beautiful, and it's this movement of life. It's the river that flows, that sometimes is very gentle and sometimes it's this big stream, and it's, if you look at water, it can be healing and purifying, but it can also destroy everything. And so an answer is like the last chapter of a book. It's the end of the movie, but I want to see the movie. I don't want it to end.
Yeah, and it's great you give the example of a movie. In a movie, I don't read the synopsis before I watch anything, because I don't want to know anything about what is going to happen.
Yeah.
But in my life,
Yeah, because we're very attached to our life. We take ourselves very seriously because everything has to go right with yours. So I plan this. If this happens in my life, it will be a good thing. If that happens in my life, it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Truth is, I don't know. The things that I thought were bad at the time turned out to be the greatest blessings. Things that I thought were, the biggest opportunities turned out to be useless. And then still, maybe 10 years on, it turns out to be the opposite again.
There's some Dutch teacher, Alexander Smit, who passed away, once said, in the beautiful, the ugly is already captured or hidden, and the beautiful is also already captured. So it's still all both sides of the same coin. Yeah. And we tend to think, oh, this is beautiful, and stick to that, and think it's going to be beautiful forever, but it doesn't work that way.
Well, earlier you asked, you said something about, if everything would always be peaceful, wouldn't that be boring? Well, that, in a way, that would be, but if we lose our attachment to life has to be a certain way, and we just flow and dance with whatever is happening, even moments where I'm depressed or where I'm insecure, and even those are just movements of life, and the less I get attached to them, the less I start using those kind of labels, because actually what I used to call insecure is just my heart that's beating a bit faster and my breath that goes a bit higher, and if I truly feel what's happening in that moment, it's just I'm actually very alive.
We search for that when we go to an amusement park. We get into the rides that gives us the chills and the thrills and goes up and down, and
but it's we get attached to the movie that we're watching, instead of seeing, hey, this is just the chapter where the challenges come for our hero in the movie.
And could you say that you are you detached from the movie? Are you like in a place where you're just the observer, or are you still active inside the movie?
I'm way more connected to it than I ever used to be, and at the same time I'm detached from the actual story. What I mean is that when people come to me, they often have this long story of their life and all the things that they find challenging or consider problems. And that's just a story. It's a story, and that story, if you talk to the same person a year after, it will be a different story. But the heart of that person is still there, it's still beating. And so if I connect, if I feel and wonder about the person that's sitting in front of me, then it doesn't really matter what story they tell. That's just the story that's playing in that moment. And that's, something that's changing all the time. But the eternity of who they are, of their heart, of their soul, that's unchanging. It's a miracle. It's eternal, always.
Yeah. This talk is for also our channel Advaita FM. So let me throw some Advaita jargon at you,
Okay.
if you're okay with that. I mentioned free will. That's a subject you can talk for hours about. How is that for you? Have you made choices in your life, or did things just happen?
I'm not sure if the thing starts with if I say I have a free will, is that I start with I. And so how do I know there's an I that's separate from not I? And I don't have an answer to that. So how could I ever get to the part of free will? It's first I haven't found the true separation of myself as the rest of the world. There is a deep connect. We are deeply connected. Whether we see that on a very spiritual level or on a very practical level. If I push you, you move. So there's a connection there.
Yeah.
So free will or not free will, I think it's beyond what our mind could ever comprehend. And I don't think it's very interesting to spend my life thinking about that, where it's one of the things that I noticed in that is that life often has solutions or adventures that are so much more incredible than I could have ever thought of. So I'm not that interested in my free will or my will, because I found that yes, they are lovely adventures, but the adventures of life are so much more beautiful and great.
Yeah.
But I do need a little bit of trust. That's true. I need to trust that, oh, there's an adventure and this is unexpected. I didn't see this one coming, but let's trust it anyway and let's flow with that anyway.
Go for it.
Yeah, in a way, go for it. Yeah.
In our Dutch interview, you told me the story about how a man came at a wedding to you, a wedding you weren't supposed to be, and he said, come with me to LA and make some music for my documentary. All these kind of coincidences. Could you say that there's a magical force going on which orchestrates that? Or is that life itself which sees opportunities and grabs them? Or connects people? Or creates situations?
But again, I think that boils down to if I see myself as separate, then I see myself also as very limited in time. You know, I'm alive, 80, 90, 100 years if we're very lucky. And so then it becomes very important what happens to yours. But if I look at the whole of history, even if we take just a slice of history, the human history, which is, in eternity is just a small one, then those 80 years, they hardly matter. There's this whole movement, and life develops and discovers new things, and a society starts and it ends again, and there's this whole dance that's happening. And so if I dare to look beyond my personal interest, then it doesn't really matter if something has always the best outcome for yours as an individual. Yeah. But I deeply trust that it has the best outcome for life as a whole. And you talked earlier about events with that happen on the other end of the world, and obviously in the United States there's a new president coming, and there's a whole fight going on with the oil pipeline that's being built, and it's very difficult for us to keep trusting that eventually
it's all for the good.
Well, I wouldn't say the good. It's just life developing itself and discovering itself, and maybe. And you could say, and I always say maybe because we never know, but maybe it's how, you know, life brings us together. Maybe we need those challenges in order to unite as a human race.
Yeah.
And maybe we need a few thousand years more of those challenges before we say, hey, what on earth are we doing?
Yeah.
Instead of celebrating how beautiful are we keep on fighting each other. But I can't force you to be peaceful. I can't force you to love yourself or to... So everybody needs to discover that for themselves.
In their own time.
In their own time. And that journey is a beautiful journey, and it's not an important journey, because it's life that is happening right now. And it's not about some goal of discovering myself, because as soon as I start believing that, then I could say, oh, I discovered myself a little bit, so I'm better than those people who haven't discovered themselves. And we found another way to discriminate.
Yeah.
And now it's not in color, or it's not in religion, but it's in how smart I am or how wise I am. But that's still a deep denial of the magic that we have as a human being. Purely the fact that we are able to discover ourselves or be completely unaware and unawake.
Yeah.
Because maybe being unawake is actually much more evolved than being awake from some perspectives. To see myself as separate, to see myself as not enlightened and not see the miracle, maybe that's actually a much bigger miracle than feeling how I'm part of everything.
Yeah. But still, we both know the suffering that comes with feeling separated.
Yeah.
It's
a shame that we make ourselves suffer.
Yeah.
Over and over again.
You still feel that deep, deep longing for home, unity, love, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And the search goes on and on. Bigger
and
house.
As long as we keep searching, we won't realize that we were always at home. That we never left home. That we don't need to find a key because there's not even a door.
Yeah.
So there's this, we are home. We've always been home. It's just our mind where we create these great travels of not being home.
Yeah. A great fantasy world. And English teacher Tony Parsons calls this the open secret, what we're talking about. He says you can, if you just look for one moment, you can see it everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how we how we don't see it.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
like looking for the glasses which are on your nose or on your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually an expression I've used before.
Yeah. You wrote a book.
Yeah.
It's in Dutch. Is it also in English?
Not yet. I hope that it'll be translated soon.
And in Dutch, can you give us the title in English?
In the title is "My Heart Is Not in a Hurry."
It's a sentence from a poem or the title of a poem?
Yeah, it's one of the poems. So the book are a number of poems, which are just sometimes very small poems about how beautiful life is, or people, or just and it's partially a story about my journey through life, both physical and spiritual, if you want to use that word.
Yeah. And is there when the camera was off, we talked about that you see the difference between gurus on a big chair on a stage and just a regular guy like you and me talking about this. What is the danger of looking up to a guru on a stage?
Well, I don't believe there's any danger in anything. So if that's what inspires you, please do that. And but there is. We cannot see in another human being what's not in us. So if I'm with a teacher that I see as an enlightened teacher, I could never see that unless that is in me. And it's very easy we can easily forget that. We're looking at that person and saying, oh, that person knows it everything, and that makes me inadequate because I need to be like that person. But the truth is, you could never experience that unless it was in you. But your expression of that same truth is slightly different than that guru. And if you go to the next guru, he'll express the same truth in a different way. And I think that's the part we never learn, that it's okay to have your own expression, that whatever you see as inadequate about yourself is actually are your gifts, are the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
That my doubts, nobody can have doubts like I have them, and they make me beautiful. Nobody can cry tears like I can cry them,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes me beautiful. Nobody can say very stupid, silly things the way I can.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to look at all the achievements, and we talked a little bit about this before, where you said, why don't you speak more about all the achievements you had when you were doing music and use that as a
vehicle.
As a vehicle. And well, maybe I could, maybe I shouldn't, I don't know. But again, we trick ourselves so easily into the illusion that, oh, he has something to say because he achieved this or that.
Yeah.
But with that, I miss the wisdom that a little child has in front of me, who has no knowledge about anything and just speaks from their heart and makes a drawing and says, look at how beautiful it is, even though it's just 3 lines.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, we would never dare to do that anymore.
He knows how special he is, the child. Yeah.
Without knowing it.
Yeah,
but he's living it, or she's living it.
Demonstrating it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautifully said. So we're all each other's teachers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All the time.
Everybody becomes your teacher, and I think especially if you feel that you need to learn something, then probably the people that rub us the most, that anger us the most, are our best teachers in learning a little bit more about ourselves.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we're talking about learning of the mind, but our heart doesn't need to learn anything. It's always known that we're complete, and that's what we knew as a child. And then, you know, like we were saying earlier, our parents and our teachers and our friends start putting information into us, and we start reading it later on and seeing television, and then we start believing that only if our mind has certain clarity that we are good enough.
Yeah.
But that's just a thought. It's just a belief. Well, we don't need to believe everything we think.
Well, that's beautifully said, but it's also the example you get at home when you see your parents worrying about everything that's on TV and everything that's in the newspaper. Then you think, well, maybe I think I have to worry also, because
yeah, how can I be happy while my best friend is worrying?
Yeah.
But am I helping my best friend by worrying as well, or do I inspire the people I meet and the world more by seeing the divinity in them and in myself?
Yeah. Something about depression. There are people who are depressed and get in touch with these kind of teachings, talks, books. Is that enough, or should you also take medicine?
I don't think there's one way. We each need to find our journey, and my journey is different from yours and different from the next person. So if there would be a universal code, like 5 steps, take these 5 steps, and then you're awake and you're always happy, and obviously we all hope that it's like that, but it's not like that. There's 0 steps, and that's what we are.
Yeah.
And we need to discover that what we are right now, including that depression, including the medication we're taking or not taking, is how we need to be in this moment.
Yeah.
Despite how challenging that may feel, and how much it takes a huge amount of trust and guts to say, wow, I'm okay the way I am. I'm perfect the way I am, even though I'm completely depressed. Because there's nothing wrong with our depression. Let's for a moment say that instead of on Facebook or social media, where somebody says, I've had this achievement, and everybody cheers you. They give likes and hearts and whatever. But if somebody would write, or people would write, I've got this big depression now, and everybody would cheer for that, saying, wow, how great, you've got this depression. Yeah. Wow, I wish I had a depression like that. We would feel completely different about depression.
I think so also, yeah.
Yeah, but actually sometimes depression is just, our longing to find some stillness. Because if we look in nature, trees aren't always carrying leaves. In fall they drop their leaves, and in winter they're very still, and there's not much movement happening. But with we human beings feel that we always have to be, the economy has always be rising, otherwise we call it the depression.
The Great Depression.
Yeah. But, and the same in our lives, we have to move up in our jobs, we have to get a bigger house, we have to have a bigger car. But maybe sometimes those moments where, life is going slightly slowing us down and saying, look a little bit inwards, because there's a lot of beauty to discover there.
Yeah.
And there's, in that stillness or in that depression or in that not knowing anything, there's a great gift to be discovered there.
Yeah. So the suffering starts when we want to get rid of something.
Yeah, the suffering is a fight against whatever is happening right now in this moment.
Yeah.
That's what makes us suffer.
And even calling it a depression is a slightly being at war with something, putting labels on it.
You could say, well, we love labeling things, and it's practical. I mean, if I wouldn't label a chair, I would have to discover every time what to do with it. So I wouldn't know how that I could sit on it. So labels are very practical, but they can also be very limiting. If I label, like I said earlier, I can label something insecure, or I can label something, whatever label I give it.
Ugly.
Yeah, ugly or beautiful. And with that, I fail to see that there's beauty and ugliness in anything that I discover. If I look at a beautiful forest, it's very easy to see how beautiful it is. But if I look at a garbage truck or field, it's more challenging for most people. But actually, both of them are beautiful, because in that garbage, there's the lives of 1,000 people collected there, and their whole, whatever they've been living, and all their love and all their pain, it's all collected there.
And we know if we see a building that's not been lived in for 100 years, totally distorted, we can see the beauty in that. Yeah. But in our own lives, everything has to be perfect, or be perfect as we think it should be. Yeah. We don't see the perfection in someone with a scar in his face, or someone who walks not very fast, and
we that's why we love Photoshop so much. We want to polish everything away that makes us human beings.
But we see it. If you look, you see that, you think that it's not. You see, and you think that's photoshopped. Yeah, that's not real.
Yeah, but it's not just about the visuals, but we want to do that with our whole lives. We go a day with friends somewhere, and maybe we didn't have the best of times, and so we're dragging along, and then somebody takes out the camera, and we all go, and that's the picture you see on Facebook. Yeah. And so that's what I see all the time around me. I see people smiling and showing how happy they are. Yeah. But that's just such a small part of their life. But what makes my heart tick much more is what makes them cry, what makes them dance, what makes them fall in love, what makes them sing. It's all these movements of emotions and expressions that we have that make us a complete human being.
Yeah. What makes them angry?
Oh, anger is such a pure, beautiful emotion. Yeah. And it can become, because we suppress it, and if we do that long enough, it's like a steam pan. At some point, it explodes, and then it becomes something that, damages a lot of people around us. But if there's just anger in the moment, then, if you look again at children who are often living very pure, they're angry, and 1 minute later they're playing again with their friends. It's just one of the expressions they have.
No problem. Not thinking all day, I was angry this morning. I should go and see a therapist.
Yeah, we can spend our whole lives thinking about what we should have done and what we're going to do. Yeah. Instead of just, enjoying life as it is right now.
Yeah. But still, that's part of the perfection. That being able to think that you should have done otherwise. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautifully said.
It's a lovely paradox, isn't it? And we can spend, again, our whole life going round in circles.
Yeah, but it brings peace when you say that, because you don't have to get rid of anything.
Oh, no.
No. Even not the bad thoughts or the parts of your life when you were worrying a lot, or when you missed a chance, or you broke a relationship which you shouldn't have.
Well, apparently you should have, otherwise it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
There's a deep trust in knowing that
No mistakes.
there's no mistakes. Maybe there are if I'm looking at life from a very small personal perspective, I could see some things as mistakes.
Yeah.
But if I dare to see myself as part of a much bigger community and life itself, then there's no mistakes. Yeah, there are slight bumps, but those bumps are just, again, I because I love water so much. If water goes if a river flows, there's some rocks in there, and that's actually what steers the water very gently in where it needs to go.
In direction, yeah. Brings us back to what I said about a half an hour ago. I and a lot of other people want certainties.
Mm-hmm.
1 + 1 is 2. And then we think, that I know for sure. I can park that in my memory, 1 and 1 is 2. But we try to put a kind of mathematics over life. You know, to know for sure that I'm going to have enough money in 2 years. You know, I use the calculator a lot.
Yeah.
And I say, here I have my savings. Okay, I'm now 42, so I'm going to live more, let's say for 30 years. So 30 times 12 is 360. Okay, I need 360,000 euros to have 1,000 euros every month until I die.
My mind is dazzling.
Yeah. But that's the kind of certainties we're looking for. That's if I could sign somewhere for an insurance that guarantees me that I have 1,000 euros every month until I die, a lot of people would sign up for that.
But the thing is, that's never a guarantee. Even if you have that in the bank, it's just actually life becomes a bit of a threat if that happens. Because if I have that certain amount in the bank that you calculated, and then something changes in the economy, or we get a different government that changes the interest rate, or whatever, or just money devaluates more than we expected, then suddenly life is...
I know, but it's at the moment when I put down the calculator, and one moment it gives me a kind of reassurance, and then immediately after 5 minutes those thoughts come up, but what if the euro collapses?
Yeah, and so we can never be alive.
Yeah.
But again, I come back to what I said earlier. We have no idea whether or not we're going to be alive next year.
Or next month.
Or next month, or even next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that I have to live like an idiot and make debts and everything. But if I celebrate life right now as it is, then I don't need to worry about all these things. And the nice thing is also that I know from experience, we need less. We don't need all these things that give us security, because I know that a house won't give me security. My friendship is much more important to me than any house I could ever have.
Yeah. But what gives you that sense of peace then?
To me, it's no longer fighting life as it is happening right now. It's dancing with life as it is happening right now and not questioning it. So I don't wonder too much about, is this the right thing? No, apparently it's happening right now, and so why not go with it and explore it and dance with it? And the most magical moments happen with friends or with people or with in general, and they're not the big stories of me traveling to the other end of the world and having a miracle, whatever. But it's in the very simplicity of a friend who shares whatever hurt them or whatever inspires them, or maybe just sitting down and having a cup of coffee together. Yeah. Sometimes that is the real magic.
So you're just celebrating life all the time?
Yeah. I wouldn't use the word celebrating.
Sharing?
I'm living life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because celebrating could appear as if it's always happy. It isn't. No. Like, I can be very sad, but I'm not sad that I'm sad.
Yeah.
It's just one of the movements that happens in life. And yes, if something happens to a friend of mine or someone that I care greatly about, of course it hurts me, and there'll be tears. But how beautiful to just let those tears be without having to stop them or without having to know all the answers, because sometimes we don't know the answers. Sometimes we just sit still with our friends and we haven't got a clue together.
Yeah. So you're not rejecting life as it comes or as it is.
No.
It's totally accepted or totally embraced.
Yeah. Even the non-acceptance of it.
If that would appear.
No, that appears as well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course it appears, because...
Yeah, you sometimes don't accept things.
Of course. I wouldn't know an example right now, but of course there are things happening in life where you think, oh, I don't want that to happen. If I miss a bus or miss a train, I don't want that.
Yeah. But it's good. It's good that you say that, because in some spiritual teachings, if I would walk out the door and step into a pile of dog poo, I would have to go, namaste.
Oh my God!
Namaste.
But if I do that, what happens if because you got that a lot with positive thinking, as they call it. But then what I'm doing is I'm saying namaste to the pile of shit that's there. But I'm saying to what I'm feeling, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But the curse that's coming, if I'm stepping into that, why shouldn't that be allowed?
Yeah.
That's part of life as well.
Yeah.
So if I should step into that, I would curse very loudly.
Yeah, shit, what's happening?
Yeah.
Who let this dog do his thing here?
Yeah, of course. And that's it's part of the expression as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I could stay stuck in that forever. I could go, I could spend a day thinking, oh, I should have said namaste. I wasn't allowed to curse.
Yeah.
Or I could stay upset with whomever the dog owner is for another week. But I can also say, oh, that was that moment that happened. I didn't like it. And I, had to change shoes or clean my shoes. And obviously that's a very dirty job to do.
Yeah.
And I move on. And because the next moment is already happening. And there's another adventure waiting.
Yeah. Beautifully said. When people want to get in touch with you, is there also an English website?
Yeah, it's jorisvinken.com.
And your last name is spelled Vincken?
Yes.
Okay, we'll put a link underneath the video interview.
Yeah.
Are you planning to travel the world and speak as passionate about this as you just did for the last 50 minutes?
Yeah, I sort of go wherever I'm invited.
Yeah.
So I don't have specific plans of wanting to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I love whatever invitation happens. And sometimes these invitations are not verbally. Sometimes, I don't know, a friend is in need somewhere and you travel there, and while you're there, things happen.
Yeah. And how do people react in your environment? How you call it, your family? Do they now see a different version of yours than, let's say, 25 years ago?
I wouldn't know exactly. I would have to ask them. I think we, to a large extent, we see the people we meet. We don't really see. I don't really see Patrick. I see who I think Patrick is.
An interpretation.
Yeah, and that says a lot about me. Whatever my interpretation of someone with a beard is, or someone with a headphone is, or someone with the jeans is, that's so I can't really see you. I have no idea who's really sitting there.
Yeah.
So obviously people who know me a long time will partially see me the way they used to see me.
Yeah.
And most likely I'll respond to that. So I'll respond much more the way they used to know me.
Yeah.
Because obviously life is it's not a one-way street, it's an interaction. If I'm sitting down with one musician and I sing one note and he sings another note, and within 5 minutes we've got a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And with another musician just as talented, I can sit for days and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Why is that? It's not because I'm great or that person is great or not so great. It's just because there's some magic happening between people. And so some people might feel very inspired by me. Others will say, what a lunatic he is.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will love one poem that I write and say the other ones, I can't, it's not for me. Some people will love some of the music that I used to do and not like what I'm writing now, or the other way around. And
yeah, it's a constant improvisation, interaction between people.
Yeah, and anybody who will tell you that they have the answer or know, whether that's to making money or whether that's to finding the right song or whether that's to spiritual enlightenment, anybody who says they've got the answer, I would be slightly careful.
Yeah.
Because they might have found the answer that works for them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't need to be the answer that works for me.
Yeah. Final question about music. You've made a lot of music in your life. Could you say that did this come through you? Was it a gift from God, as some musicians call it? I think my question is, where does inspiration come from? This inspiration to write that song, to make that music.
Well, to an extent, we never know, because I don't know. I think every person has talents, and for me, the first time that I sat behind the piano when I was, I think, 7 or 8, there was this connection between us. Even though I couldn't really play, I wrote my first very simple song within a week. So there was something there.
Yeah.
And for other people, it's drawing. I can't draw nothing because I no matter how hard I try, it just I don't have the talent. Other people have it with speaking. Other people have it with whatever their talent is. So there is some aspect that's natural to us. Maybe it's our genes or the way we were raised or whatever. And there's an extent of fine-tuning the instrument that we are. So if my talent is to draw, the more I draw, the more I can do that without thinking.
Yeah.
So if I sit behind the piano now, I could almost be falling asleep and my fingers will still be playing because I've done it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to think which chord am I going to play. It's just I've got this feeling and my fingers play that. Just like walking, we have no idea how we walk, but we do it all the time.
It's natural.
It's natural.
Yeah.
And so there's this fine-tuning, and I think the more tuned we are to it, the less we need to think, and it's always our thoughts that get in the way of inspiration. And then comes back to your question, am I writing it or is it divine inspiration? I don't know. I do know that the less I think, the more beautiful it often is.
Yeah.
So sometimes I wake up with a melody and I quickly jump out of bed and write it down. Or with the poem, I wake up in the middle of the night and write down 5 sentences on my phone. And the next morning I might, change the language a little bit or fix some spelling mistakes in there.
Yeah.
Is that me doing it? Is it live happening? I don't really know. I think it's, again, this dance between me and live and me spending ages with it. Because in the beginning, when I started writing, there was nothing. That first times I started writing songs, they were very silly songs. And if I would have given up then, I would never have written anything that was worthwhile. But because I kept doing it, at some points there were songs where I thought, wow, did I write that? Or did that happen through my fingers?
So the pencil had to be sharpened, or has to be sharpened.
Yeah.
And then you get more fine-tuned.
Yeah.
And
And it's
But it didn't take you any. Did it take you effort, or was it just all coming natural to you?
Well, it took me effort, but I didn't mind the effort. Because, for example, one of the things that I'm very passionate about with music is how it sounds. I love music that just sounds good. It has purely the quality of how it's recorded. And so I spent ages learning about how to operate a mixing desk and how to get the best reverb and the best microphone. Yes, that took a lot of effort, but I loved every second of it. I would, in the evening go to bed reading about it, or later on the internet finding stuff about it. And
passion.
It's passion, And so with piano, there were times where I was practicing scales because I wanted my fingers to be a little bit more flexible. That wasn't maybe the most fun part of doing it, but
you still loved it.
I still loved it because it helped me getting myself out of the way of just letting that music flow. Yeah. And if my fingers are all tangled up, then it stops me from just letting that music flow. So,
could we say, concluding, that we have to find our passion, or let the passion find us?
I wouldn't say any conclusion.
No, but I'm just thinking.
I think we can. It's so easy to turn something into a goal again, where we often fail to see the talents that we already have, and so we are looking for. So maybe if I'm a great musician, I want to be able to make great films as well, and not seeing that what to me is completely natural. For example, me playing on the piano and just improvising, and people tell me, "Wow, that brought me to tears," and I'm thinking, "But I'm just fiddling a little bit." So it's very easy not to see our own talents. So finding it or being found by it,
or being open, just
but just do what you're already doing and enjoy that, and let it, don't think too much about it, just let it happen as it happens.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, but even wanting to be spontaneous is not that spontaneous.
But,
Don't Worry, Be Happy is this great song by Bobby McFerrin, who's a great human being, by the way. At least I don't know him personally, but if you see him sing, that makes my heart sing. But I think he's very right. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. We want to find that holy grail, failing to see that we are the holy grail. That's what we are. So whether I make beautiful music or not, whether I inspire just one person or whether I inspire 1 million people, that doesn't matter. We're still this living miracle, and it's so easy to stop failing to see that, because we feel that only if we achieve something we're good enough. The truth is we are good enough always. There's no way we could ever not be good enough.
Beautifully said. Thank you very much, Joris, and we're gonna follow you with all the things you do.
Thank you.
Sitting here for the second time with my friend Rob Eck. Actually, it's the third time we meet.
Yes.
The first time we had a talk in Dutch.
Yes.
The second time you gave me a treatment on the table.
Yes.
And now for the third time a talk in English for our English projects Advaita TV and Advaita.me.
Me.
Yeah.
Who is me?
Yes. Let's start with that question.
Who is me?
What is that me, Rob? Is that something that exists?
Well, who knows that there is a me, or that there must be a me?
That's the question.
That's the question. For how do you know that you live? That you are here? For me, that is the first question. For we talk about Advaita, but that is the end of your journey, in my opinion. The journey as a human being in a complicated society and with a lot of stress and problems, sickness, partners, children, Chinese, Americans, Russians, Belgians.
A lot of difference.
Lot of differences. And you have to find your way in that turmoil. And on a certain moment, you get a kind of epiphany. You think, what in hell am I doing here? Is this it? Is this my life? And if I do all these difficult things and a lot of schooling and university and jobs and in the end I die. I do this all for the end. What would you think?
Well, it gives me a sense of that it's pointless, it's useless.
Yes. And it's for many seekers the starting point. What is this? Is this normal? Is there an escape? And is there something better? What it gives a sense to my life? And some people have that
when they're all very young. And there are people, especially in this building,
Where you
who
live?
haven't got a clue
Yeah. Yeah.
and are afraid of it.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of searching for the truth. Some people know that I'm busy with Advaita and that I have had some clients in chakra therapy. But when you want to talk about it with them,
No.
no. No, that is eerie. No. I do not believe.
Yeah. Do they think it has something to do with kind of church or as a kind of religion? What's the comments you get?
Oh, it's just different.
Yeah.
A lot of people have tried to cope with their life, and they say, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And people who are really interested in Zen or Advaita, and in the real core of that movement, well, they cannot do anything other than that.
Yeah.
They must know.
Yeah.
Whatever it will cost. They want to know who they are and what this life means.
Yeah. Is that the right way?
You can say that.
You can't say that.
No, it's different for anybody.
Yeah. Well, I just spoke to Eli Jackson Bear, the husband of Gangaji.
Yes.
And when I met him for the second time, I went inside, talked to him, and said, well, it seems like a kind of virus that takes over you and you cannot stop it. And he says,
No.
if you're lucky,
Yeah.
it's like that.
Yes. If you feel two hands under you and you get help, then you know you're on the right path. But if you miss that, then it's very difficult. And then you sometimes have to wait 20 years for you really understand what it means.
And how does that help look like? Does it have certain kind of form, or can it be in any shape that help you get in this path?
Well, that you say things on the right time, that you hear sentences, that you think, oh my God, I have this to write now.
Yeah.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Or when you work with people, that there is an instant recognition that you are working in the same field of consciousness. And perhaps you have felt it in our session.
Mm-hmm.
That I know where you are, and you know what I ask you to do or not to do.
Mm-hmm.
There are not really words necessary to feel what is happening.
Yeah.
And if that is trustful, that you can surrender yourself to what you feel. As long as there are thoughts who want to explain what is happening or who want to deny what is happening, then you are in trouble.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait, can I trust my own thinking or not? That can be a struggle for years.
Yeah.
You don't believe it, or your partner says,
Rubbish.
I lost a lot of friends
I can imagine.
for doing this. Rob, stop it.
Yeah,
We know it.
We don't want to hear anything more. Yeah. Stop about talking about this rubbish.
Yes.
Yeah. You take a sip of your water. I
Yeah.
have to stop the camera for one moment
Okay.
because there's the sound of the refrigerator irritating me. And maybe we can do something about it and pick up the talk.
Yes. without the refrigerator. Okay, that was the freezer.
Yeah, the freezer.
Peeping freezer.
Peeping Tom, peeping freezer is gone.
Yes.
Rob, something simple like irritation.
Yeah.
Some spiritual people would say, well, just be with the noise. Don't irritate yourself. Don't think the noise has not to be here. There's only one problem, that's you thinking that the noise should go. But I'm thinking now, well, I'm glad we did something about it.
Yes.
Because it's now...
It's annoying, the noise.
Yes.
Yes.
So Advaita is not about being with everything in peace and not rejecting anything, not fixing anything.
Advaita is knowing who you are. And, well, that can mean, or you know it already, that what you are has nothing to do with this world and with this person. We are the seeing of the person in this world.
Yeah.
And so it is not a form of a therapy.
To fix the person.
To fix the person so that he can cope with the world as it is, or his personality, or... It was by that it was so, well, when I'm enlightened, then everything is smooth, right.
Yeah, that's not the case.
That's not the case. And Nisargadatta has said that frequently. When you know, but what can you do with it? Nothing. It's not a product. It is not something you can market or to sell or what many people who think they are enlightened do is trying to be popular and to get devotees and
sell books about it, talk about it.
Yes. And there are various ways to do that. But if you distinguish them as good, those are good, those are bad, those are traitors, that is not interesting. The core of Advaita is understanding what Advaita means. The not to. That there is not a subject that is connected with all kinds of objects. For the subject is an idea. You can never find a subject.
No.
And in the English language, the word subject has many explanations, betekenis, meanings.
Yeah.
Subject is the person who acts. Well, in this case, in Advaita, the subject is that what sees.
That what sees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That what hears. The knowing, or the awareness, or the consciousness.
But last time we talked about it, that sounds so logical. There must be something that perceives the world.
Yes. There must be perceiving, otherwise there isn't a world.
Yeah.
You don't know. You cannot know yourself and there is no seeing. And there is no consciousness.
Yeah.
And so simple is it. Then your life starts. When you started your life, when you became consciousness of your being here. Yes? Do you remember a day when you were born, or when you were in the womb of your mother?
No.
I won't go any further.
You were conceived, yeah.
No, you know nothing.
No.
And why not? there must have been consciousness. For you were hungry and you were, mommy.
Yeah.
But there was no language, so there was no memory. For memory, you have to have thinking, thoughts, labels for the things you see, feel, and then you can put it in your memory.
Yeah.
So, and that is one of the great mysteries in Zen in Advaita. What happens when you, as eternal consciousness, has no experience of whatever? Are you dead, or is it simply a matter of not knowing? For there is no a recollection, no memory.
It's like the Dutch Advaita teacher Johannika Ring says, when we're now in this state, we're dreaming.
Yes.
Then we're dreaming in sleep, and then in deep sleep we are awake. She says, because
and who knows that?
there's still something that knows that
Yeah, but you can only tell that story
afterwards. Yeah. During deep sleep, there's no one that knows that he or she is awake in deep sleep.
Yes. Well, I have the solution of it.
Okay. Please give it to us, Rob.
In the end, and perhaps we talk about it later, was our session.
Mm-hmm.
And you can bring a person on the brink of knowing that you are,
Yeah.
and what it is, the I am, knowing from I am,
Yeah.
and it is consciousness, is undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. And then is there the realization, also this is known. And the process of losing your language, for that is it. When there are no words, are you dead?
No.
No. And is that eerie? Are you afraid when there are no words?
No.
No. It's quiet. It's good. We can do an oefening. Practice. That in 5 or 10 minutes you are in that state of nothingness, and still you are. And that state is also seen. It is in a space of knowing,
Mm-hmm.
and that knowing you can never know.
Because it's knowing itself.
It's knowing itself.
Yeah.
You seek with the eye. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Of what Zen Master Linchi said. You fools, you put a second head on your head to find your head.
Yeah.
You urge to find objects as proof as your being.
Yeah.
But the proof of your being is that you are.
Yeah. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
So it are the thoughts that mislead us and forces us to keep on seeking.
Seeking for?
For the solution in the form of a form.
Yeah.
Yes? And all the time, awareness was here.
Yeah.
Everything is seen. The start of your seeking is seen. The start of your most desperate moments, it is all seen.
Yeah.
It never was not. And Rupert Spira had a couple of weeks ago a video where this discussion was pointed out, and he asked one of his visitors, have you ever experienced the not being here? The total disappearance of awareness.
No.
No.
Cannot be.
When you that you have fallen in sleep, you know when you wake up, hey, okay, hey,
Yeah.
I did fall asleep without pills. Oh. And not being awake this night, no. But always recollection. Nee,
Recollection.
Recollection. Ja. Moet je even drinken.
Yeah. Thirsty weather.
Yeah, so thirsty weather. So, you always there. And why is that? On a certain day you find out that awareness is timeless.
Yeah.
And timeless will mean that there is no past for awareness, and there is no future for awareness. Yeah. When I put off the microphone, you cannot hear me. That moment that I wanted to do that, it is now already a recollection.
Yeah, a memory.
A memory.
Yeah.
Memory again.
Yeah.
Even this is memory.
Yeah.
And the future do not exist.
Yeah.
What you think comes out of the future is known now.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes? Dus you and the world is only now known on this moment.
Yeah.
There isn't any other moment.
And so without nowhere, no world, without world, no nowhere. They go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand. As soon, and if there is a state of beingness where nothing is seen, how could you know?
Yeah.
You must know you are here.
Mm. So there's still a nowhere without anything to know.
Well, you cannot say that,
No.
for it's not your experience.
Yeah.
Your experience is that you are there,
Yeah.
and your experience is that in the hours that you thought you were in a deepless of in a deep sleep, in deep sleep, or were in consciousness,
Unconscious.
unconscious. For the doctor has given you a pill, or you walked against a train. Yeah. You know nothing about that.
Yeah.
And during unconsciousness, you saw things, or if you dreamed, you were conscious.
Yeah.
And you know you were dreaming.
Yeah.
And so the I was there.
Yeah. There's a website called Never Not Here.
Never not here, yes.
Yeah, that's what they talk about. Always there.
Always there.
Yeah.
And so the discussion about what is there when there is nothing, and I had to be still conscious. Some words.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a reality.
Yeah.
Well, thinking can make all kinds of problems.
Yeah. While it's so simple. We just talked about it. So simple. Never Not
It's
Here.
so simple.
Yeah.
There had to be knowing to know that you are.
Yeah.
Is there no knowing? No one knows that.
Yeah. And maybe have you read Course in Miracles?
No. I started with it, but no,
You didn't go through it.
it's not my piece of cake
Or cup of tea.
or cup of tea.
They talk about that this world is just mind-made. It's just made of thoughts. It's not real.
Yes.
It's not permanent. We turned our back on God. We play with the Son of God. And how is that for you? When you look outside your beautiful window here, you see green trees, you see air, people walking by. Is that then just all a dream inside me? Is that just an imagination? What is that?
Well, you can only explain that when there are words. Yes, and words are labels. In effect, it are sounds. Each word is a sequence of sounds.
Yes.
Little bits of silence between them.
Yeah.
So that this is one word, that's one word,
Yeah.
that's one word.
Yeah.
Yes. And when the language from you and from me is the same, and we understand each other, and our definitions are conform our definition of my
Yeah.
definitions, then we can talk about these things. And so all those questions are thanks to language.
Yeah.
Without language,
No labels.
no labels,
No definitions.
no definitions.
Just what is.
Just what is.
Yeah.
And where are we then?
Here.
Yeah. We're the same spot
Yeah.
as there on the table
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. Well, 10 minutes we were there.
Mm-hmm.
So simple is it.
Yeah.
The world is world of language.
Yeah. It's what we make of it.
It's what...
There is no one objective world.
No, your world is completely different from my world.
Or from the ant, or from the horse, or the cow, or the minister president, or Barack Obama, or all different worlds.
Yes, even the idea that there are others than you, that who must have the same sort of experience as I have with the world and with trees and with water and with food, and you do not come further than that idea, that projection.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
No.
No.
For you need words to recognize that,
Yeah,
of to build a system,
yeah,
of to project your ideas on another.
yeah.
But you don't know. What do you know of yourself? How often do you think that you're in conflict with yourself, or take your body? What do you see?
Hands, feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
You only see the outside of things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not the blood or the
No.
cells
No.
dividing. Or,
And there's everything of a tree, a cupboard, of...
yeah, just the outside, the surface.
You can never see the inside.
No. What does that
What does that
imply?
mean? What the inside is awareness.
Ah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what you mean by inside. Yeah.
that's the inside.
Yeah. That's what stuff is made of. Awareness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything you see is a combination of memory, words, projections, labels,
Yeah.
and all of that have you learned
Yeah.
in your story.
Yeah. Well, when I started to talk,
Yeah.
people tell me that's the moon, that's a chair, that's a closet, that's Rob, that's a table, that's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before that, it was all the same to me. Tables.
Well, this is an enormous problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it such a big problem, Rob?
Well, you never know for sure how it is constructed.
Mm-hmm.
Is my life a life of an object?
Mm-hmm.
The first person in my life is Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Is my talking and my house and my.
Yeah.
And that is seen by something which is nothing.
Yeah.
And that must be the real me. For if that isn't here, Rob isn't here.
Yeah.
So the story of Rob is an empty story when there is no awareness.
Yeah.
And that is what the great masters say. It's all illusion. It's a movie which you see.
Yeah. A play.
A play.
Play of consciousness.
A play of consciousness. What you see is consciousness. For you can never leave your own consciousness.
Yeah. So
You cannot get in and you cannot go out.
yeah.
There is no inner and there is no outer.
No. No dimension.
No dimension.
No.
That is the meaning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a label here-ness.
Mm-hmm.
What are you? Where are you? Now where are you?
Yeah, right here.
Right here. Okay, and where is that?
Yeah, it's unlocated. I could say I'm in Rotterdam,
No,
but that's the public.
is that in the neighborhood of this table and this camera and
No.
it must be,
Yeah. Unlocated. Yeah.
it's unlocated.
Yeah.
You never can find it.
No.
You can have the idea it's somewhere behind my eyes,
Mhm.
between my ears. And there are experiments you can do for I'm here, the hypophyse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, where is the okay? From where do you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, and who sees this point?
Yeah.
And in the end, it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah. And when you talk about that, it's very reassuring. It gives me a great sense of peace that I'm not located anywhere in the
You
world.
are not located. You are open for what we are. The here-ness is equal to the now-ness. You can only be now.
Yeah.
I can throw away this bottle
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks and spoils the water, and I cannot repair it. It's definitely gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the last second is gone, and my
Mhm.
last third is gone
Yeah.
forever.
Cannot turn it back.
No. It's only here
Yeah.
and now. It's the same. Yeah?
Yeah.
And there are no dimensions. For here-ness means no space.
Yeah.
Timeless, no time. And so there is no span of time between knowing this and wanting to know that.
Yeah.
It all happens now.
Yeah.
So there is no cause and effect. The whole problem of causation isn't a real problem. For that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Still, it seems like it's.
Yeah,
one
that's
thing
the movie.
leads- Yeah, it leads to the other. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can only exist on this moment here. You are always here.
Yeah.
If you walk to your car and I ask you,
Yeah.
where are you? Here.
Yeah, yeah. Never not here.
Never not here.
When I travel to New York, still here.
Yes, when you have an out-of-the-body experience, you are always here. And you see a body laying on the bed. I've seen that a couple of times. But I can never be in the corner of my room
Yeah.
this moment. No, I'm here.
Yeah.
You can never come out of it.
Yeah.
And what is that it? That is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same with Alexander Smith said. You cannot hide. There's no place to hide in the world.
No, what you are can never be treated or mistreated by the world. But you are not in the world.
Yeah.
The world is in you as projection in the moment, but only in this moment,
Yeah.
and only here.
Yeah.
So, Obama,
Not here.
not here.
Yeah.
So, well, one of my, I have no devotees, my visitors, got a breakthrough when I told him, when I leave Rotterdam with my auto, with my car,
Yeah.
there's no Rotterdam anymore.
It's gone.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Yeah.
It's pure memory.
Yeah.
In my here and
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
there's only my car and
And the road.
the road.
Yeah. And it's like the old Indians say, I don't appear in a room, the room appears in me. No?
You cannot say anything about it. For you are spaceless and timeless. There's no room in spacelessness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But let's say another object. A bowl of soup.
It doesn't matter.
No?
No. There are no references. It's only here and it's only now.
Yeah. And nothing we can say about it.
You can nothing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, nothing to grab onto, to hold on to.
No.
No. Yeah. On one side.
Tell that your grandchildren.
On one side, it gives me a great sense of freedom and peace.
Yeah.
The other side, it starts worrying me because I think, oh, that's free fall. That's a complete free fall. There's nothing I can cling on to anymore.
As Patrick.
Yeah.
As Hong Hing Hong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah?
How it's called in Chinese.
Yeah. Nee, that's right.
Yeah.
But you see that many Advaita lovers still are the person. They're still playing Advaita as a person.
Making it into a certain kind of concepts, dogmas. The world is an illusion. I appear, the room appears in me, I don't appear in the room. There is no I. No free will. Yeah.
Yeah. All references to the world
Yeah.
and the person who
Yeah.
experiences the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not the person who experiences the world, it's awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah? Without awareness, you are empty, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wake up from a dream. And in this case, you cannot know, being Rob or Patrick, what it means to be nothing. But it is not disquieting. When we stop thinking, where are you then? Without words.
Yeah. Still here?
Still here. And again, how does that feel?
Yeah. Peaceful.
Yeah. Is there a problem?
No, nothing to worry about.
No.
No.
Do we have to explain this?
No, we cannot explain it. It is just is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the teaching is grounded in the questions,
Yeah.
in the thinking, the thoughts. For there's something that wants to grab
Yeah.
the knowledge. But the knowledge is a knowledge without words.
Yeah. It's a knowing.
It's a knowing.
Yeah. It's not knowledge, it's knowing. Yeah.
Yes, the knowing, the feeling, and even the feeling is too much.
Mm-hmm.
You know that you know.
The being, knowing.
Awareness.
Yeah. There's also a website called Being Knowing. I think. Never not here.
No.
Being Knowing.
For you cannot say who you are.
Can I say what I am?
No,
Also not.
no.
Not in words.
If you are here without words, you are here. Without the words.
Yeah.
There's nothing to distinguish.
No differences.
No differences.
Yeah.
So there's no causation.
Even saying that this is the world is too much.
Yes.
You still make it into.
Well, if you have no word for a room, you have no word for a tree. How could you distinguish the tree from the room?
Yeah, it's all made of.
It's one image.
Yeah, it's like a painting you're watching. Yeah.
It's the totality of what you see, what is. And that is your experience, I think, with the self-realization. What I am is unknowable, but I see this.
Yeah.
But as soon as I try to explain it, I'm fully back in duality.
Yeah.
And there is one proof, always, one simple proof, one simple investigation. Is this seen?
Yeah.
As soon as you see a movement of yourself, of your thinking, of
Yeah.
then you see what duality is. And then is the bottle, and there is my glasses, and your telephone, and the room,
Yeah.
and then come the questions.
Yeah.
Without words, you have no questions.
You say the question, is it seen? Is it the same as am I aware?
Yeah.
But when we start saying am I aware of, then we go into
Now, the thought, am I aware, is also seen.
Yeah.
Everything that moves or that has form
Yeah.
and is identified by a label, that's very important. If you have no labels,
Yeah.
baby has no labels.
But is that then the beginning of that eerie feeling of separation when we start using words as a human being? So that's the big price we pay for having language.
Yes, but what can you do about it?
Nothing. No.
There's a game to play.
The game of hot and cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
And good and bad. And,
We were just in the kitchen making some hot water for my noodles,
yes.
and you said,
The noodle bear.
but let's stick to the cup of hot water. There has to be cold water to know hot water. If there was no cold water, there couldn't be any hot water.
Yes.
So that's why we have all those seemingly differences in the world. Good, bad, war, peace. And that's necessary to even have a world or to see something like a world or why? Yeah.
You have to be able to distinguish objects.
If the whole world would be blue, I could not differentiate the world blue. I couldn't say that's blue, that's not.
No.
Yeah.
There's no any differentiation.
Yeah.
So there's no knowledge to beget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So understanding the here and now is the end of the story. For you as beingness.
Mm-hmm.
And the story goes on, but it hasn't anymore that load and that importance.
Yeah.
it plays itself out.
Yeah.
And the only thing you have to do, as long as you are still a little bit uncertain and you are getting in a new crisis, ask yourself, who experienced this crisis?
Yeah.
Who is it? Who sees this? And then you are back.
Back in
Being.
the now. Yeah. Being back in
Wordless
being. Yeah.
being.
I like back in being.
Back in being.
Yeah.
We are back in being.
Yeah. Make a theme song out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the kitchen, you also said to me that in the Bible there are some stories about this thing we experience, this separation, this
the
not
Tower
understanding.
Of and the Tower of the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a movie with Brad Pitt, Babel.
Yes.
What's that about? People not understanding each other.
God wanted to shake up the world a little bit.
God.
Yes.
Because it was dull.
That is in the Bible.
That's why he made one certain kind of people talk a different language from the other one. They couldn't understand each other.
Well, begin with Adam and Eve.
Thrown out of paradise. Because of
why?
The apple of knowing good and bad. Yeah.
The last one.
Yeah.
The distinction between good and bad.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before that, paradise.
Paradise, oneness.
Yeah. Oneness.
No distinction.
Yeah.
No nakedness, no
All
worrying,
Yeah.
no shame, no.
Yeah.
And that's the solution. And many seekers hope to reach that state.
Nirvana.
Yeah, that's nirvana.
Yeah.
But if that's again an experience with a looker and an experience, you are in the kind of world or dream again.
Yeah.
And it are immediately again the thoughts who make the story.
Yeah.
Without thoughts, you cannot come with these questions.
Yeah.
And well, I give an answer and I explain it, but
All for nothing.
no, you can never know from this position what it is and what people experience.
Still, this is a subject you can talk about for hours. Why is that?
That is the world of thinking.
And it never stops. Never has enough.
It weakens, but you learn to experience that you are more quiet, more not angry anymore, or not hasty or frustrated.
Yeah.
For you are here
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, that eternal moment of silence, stillness, spacelessness, without movement. And that is what you feel. That is your new
Base.
base, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You also told me in our last interview in Dutch that we don't take up any room, that you and me can fit into this camera easily.
The complete universe can be placed in the eye of a needle.
How is that?
There are no forms, no objects, no span of meters, of miles, or yards, or
Still, the scientists tell me
nothingness.
That, yeah, but they tell me that the universe or the Milky Way weighs as much, 1,000 times more than the sun, and this and that. They try to measure everything.
That's the story.
Yeah, in the world. So it's still correct for the world.
In your dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets difficult.
Mhm.
Thinking wants to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to remember, it's your world. And you can think or hope or fear that your world is the same world as my world.
Mhm.
And I think van, that's not right. But you cannot never leave your world.
That's true. Yeah. And I cannot enter your world.
No,
No.
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 Tony Parsons said, when we sit at this table, it's the self who talks with the self
Yeah.
in a certain form.
Yeah.
But in reality, nothing happens. Each nanosecond we thought we knew is already gone.
Yeah.
It can only be a memory, and that's a thought.
Yeah.
Well, thoughts disappear,
Yeah.
and forms disappear.
And how this world plays out, Rob? Do I have any influence on that?
As what?
Well, as puppet.
As the player?
Yeah, or as puppet in the world.
As puppets on a string.
Yeah. Does the puppet on the string have any will of its own, or does it have any influence on what happens in the story?
There's no causation. There only happens what now happens.
Yeah.
What now happens.
Yeah.
What now happens. What now happens. In the totality.
Yeah.
Nothing excluded.
Still, it seems like I ask a question, you give the answer.
Yes.
But it is all...
It's all gone.
Yeah. That's true. But we captured it with this camera. So I can listen to it again and again and again.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it still seems like, well, hi Patrick, you asked a good question there. And there Rob gave a good answer.
Yeah. Blah, woo,
Yeah.
man.
Woohoo!
But this is dus hardcore Advaita. You lose all ideas.
Yeah.
Literally, all ideas.
Mhm.
Everything is thinking,
Interpretation.
interpretation.
Yeah.
And you're never sure of their reality. And all this is seen in a position of nowness and here-ness.
Yeah.
Without space, without time,
Yeah. Without location.
without location.
You cannot say it's anywhere or everywhere.
Nowhere is a real center.
Yeah.
You can never measure eternity of infinity.
No.
Hmm.
No.
There are no circumferences.
Yeah. Cannot put a fence around it. Let's say that's
No.
the way I am.
And you can feel that.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
You can feel it's space-like, but
Yeah.
what you said in the beginning, there are no, how shall I call it? There are no fences.
No limitations.
There's no inner and there's no outer.
Yeah.
It's any vector, any position on a map, on a Google map, it's all imagination.
No coordinations. Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel it immediately when you talk about this, or we talk about this, that opening up inside. That
Yeah.
yeah, it's very relaxing. Yeah. I also immediately start yawning and sitting in a different position, sitting like I'm on the beach of Hawaii in a lounge seat with a cocktail and Yeah? Yeah. And there are no cocktails here, no Hawaiian skirts. No girls dancing on the beach.
No.
Yeah. So what that says is not about the circumstances. That's a good point to make, because we're here sitting in Holland where it's not so nice weather today, in Rotterdam, on just a chair at a table, and we can feel like we're on vacation, where we're totally relaxed. Everything is perfect.
Yes.
Nothing has to change.
One teacher had it about suicide of the person.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is, you ought not to think so.
No.
It's not suicide.
It's vacation.
It's a person that is doorseen. You've seen through, as a mere object in awareness.
Yeah.
You see your thoughts, you see, and even door thinking, what a thinking. You see only thoughts. And you see your movements, and you smell, you taste the noodle soup. Happy noodles. And that's it. And the rest is all imagination, all play of thoughts.
Yeah.
And who does that?
No one knows.
No one knows. It's here.
Yeah.
And what can we do about it? Turn your attention to your source.
Yeah.
But also that is an idea. I point at you. At who do I point?
Mm-hmm.
America wants you. I want you.
Yeah. But still, now when I'm with you, I feel this complete space-like, boundless being.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on my flip-flops in half an hour or an hour. I go outside, and then people tell me I come back into the hypnotic field of the persons.
Yeah.
People all thinking that they are that person.
Yes.
What kind of effect does it have on me? Does it always have effect on me, or how does that work? How does that work for you when you go outside? Can you still be that timeless, spaceless being all the time? You are it, but do you recognize it?
No, you are being reacted on the circumstances you meet. And that is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
You see the flip-flop from the real me as awareness
to the person.
To the person.
Yeah. But do I get pulled back into the person, or does the person appear as a kind of defense mechanism to other persons? How does that work?
It's just a person who lives a life with other objects.
Yeah.
And it seems that you are in that person, which you know now.
Yeah.
That isn't the truth.
Yeah.
You're out of it.
Yeah.
You even cannot say it is in you.
Mm-hmm.
There is no in and out.
Yeah.
It is at the same now that you see it and experience it.
Yeah. It appears to be.
It appears to be.
Yeah.
One teacher who explained that brilliantly is Sarah Bob Edison.
The Australian guy.
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah, exactly what I have said.
Yeah.
It's an appearance. It's only in the now. We haven't a minute to realize what we experience. No, the experience is this.
Yeah.
Your wise listening and yes, and my beautiful Louis van Gaal English. And all that is seen.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help. And that's also a belief. When goes this mystery help you?
Mm-hmm.
It's all that you see is mystery, and all that you are is complete. Space, quiet, nice, without problems.
Yeah. And is it then still something of the thinking or of the person that says, wow, we have to have that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Just ask Rob if you can live with him.
It's part of the story,
Yeah.
integral part of the story. And then explaining that there is no God, but there is some kind of energy that wants to know himself. You can never answer that sort questions.
No.
That will stay a mystery forever.
Yeah. But still, is it for you like a permanent knowing? Are you permanent on vacation, that feeling?
No.
You shoot back into the person also sometimes.
Well, yeah, sometimes,
Yeah.
but that's not the problem. I cannot put out the world
Mm-hmm.
with my hand, or
Yeah.
I can shut my eyes, but then can you...
You poke you in the back, yeah. Yeah, that's a great a difference you make, that it's not about getting rid of the world or getting rid of the person or getting rid of anything.
It's pure knowing
Yeah,
who you are.
yeah. And then it's that person has certain kind of problems.
That is it.
Yeah. It's nothing that has nothing to do with you.
Now, have I told you my dream that I met my master in China or Nepal, and it was a very clear dream. And he said, Rob, this is the great enlightenment. Rob is full and you are empty. Klaar.
That's it.
Yeah, ready.
That was it.
That was it. And the world is full,
Yeah.
and what you are is nothing,
Yeah.
emptiness. But it's not dead. It's
Yeah.
pure life. But those are words. But you experience it as
Yeah.
a holiday in Waikiki.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, we're almost talking. Oh, we are talking for an hour. If people want to get in touch with you, Rob,
Yeah.
is that possible? And
Yes, that's always possible.
you live in Rotterdam.
Yes.
Do you receive people here at home to talk about this
Yeah.
in English, as we experienced
Yes.
the last 60 minutes?
On a round table.
On a round table with nice water and cookies, and if people want to get in touch with you through the internet from other countries, you started a blog in English.
Yes, that read Advaita
Dot
blog.
Scott.
Blog.
Oh, blog.com.
Yeah, yeah.
Please search it up for us, or we'll put it.
I search it.
Go on the tablet.
The tablet, my friends. Tick. Read Advaita.
Dot.
Self-realization. Hoppakee. No, it is not
It's
not ready.
for publication.
Well, I thought yep.
the right link underneath
Yes,
this interview.
that's best. That's better.
Your blog in Dutch, that's more easy to find.
Inzichten.blogspot.com
.nl.
.nl. Oh ja, .nl.
No problem.
No problem.
Thanks for this very inspiring talk again, Rob. And final question that came to mind. You are living here in a building with elderly people.
Yes.
You do not seem to me as an elderly person. Let's say maybe in age you are
67.
67.
Yes.
But yeah, it feels like just talking to someone who just came around. Is that then maybe the difference I feel with people I talk to, that they still have this cheerfulness, this playfulness, this youthfulness, because they know that what they are is an essential, timeless being.
You are that.
Yeah. You stay that forever, through your whole life.
It has always been the same.
Yeah.
But I know now what it is.
Yeah.
Last 20 years. But yeah, it is your basic feeling. Space, calm. Even when you make mistakes, they must be serious. Then the person will get his part in the play.
Yeah.
But that takes an hour or 2 hours, and then it's over.
And has it changed anything in your life the last 20 years? Have you met, has the person, Rob, met less or more difficulties? Or do you say that doesn't make any difference? Still
Doesn't
goes
make
on.
any
No,
difference.
the play goes on.
It's how you cope with it.
Hmm.
And
No more suffering.
well, you are what's bereid zijn?
Willing to?
You are willing to see also the hardships and to feel them, and you are open for that. It's not that's I
No
don't want
rejection.
it. No rejection.
No.
And for when you go deep in pain, or in a situation of somebody, behind that is this.
Mm-hmm.
So the pain turns out to be
This also.
the stillness and happiness.
Yeah.
Also the pain is consciousness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that you can use in therapy.
You start recognizing this, that it's all made of the same stuff. It's all you.
It's all you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing excluded.
Nothing.
Oh.
For you are timeless and spaceless. Yes, this all construction of the thinking cannot cope with that situation.
No. It has to grasp. It has to make
It,
boundaries.
it's not to be understood
Yeah.
by words.
Yeah. You cannot stand under it, understand it. Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
You cannot understand it, for the thoughts try to understand it
Yeah.
by labels, by labeling.
Or putting it in a box with a label on it. That's that. That's this.
And what's more important is consciousness.
Yeah.
That is the Holy Spirit. Yeah. But the Holy Spirit is empty. Holy is whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
No in or out.
Yeah.
So it's not people who are holy. Don't believe them.
No. So Rob, for you it's not a problem that a lot of refugees from Syria come to Europe in an overcrowded country like the Netherlands.
For me, it's not a problem now.
And can you
But
understand people who say that's a problem?
Well, it is as the world turns around, of let it, how the world exploits itself.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and now I know that Osho once said that Hitler never existed. He felt that too, that you cannot say anything about the world from that
Yeah.
spacelessness.
Yeah.
As soon you utter the first word,
Yeah.
you are in the duality again.
The Tao that can be spoken is not the Tao. That's the first words of the Tao Te Ching.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see that when people ask the masters, what we have to do with the war. When Krishnamurti, he lived in the Second World War. He said, you search first for who you really are. And if you found yourself, come back and then you'll see what you can do
Yeah.
in the world. And yeah, you have to wait till what happens.
Yeah.
You can never say beforehand, my life will be that and that and that.
Yeah.
So,
Still, can it be, Rob, that we search for freedom in the world because we still have a sense of that freedom that we are? So we start searching for it in the world, in wealth, in fame, in the biggest house, the biggest swimming pool. Because deep down inside we know that we are boundless, but we try to find that boundlessness in the world.
and my boundlessness is so small.
It's not big.
No,
No, that's just an idea we have of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You must pure feel what you are.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
No ideas about it.
No.
No.
And you're back again.
Yeah. Back in concepts.
In concepts and back in duality,
Yeah.
back in
Yeah.
good, the bad, and
Yeah.
the ugly.
Yeah, Rob.
The ugly hides himself behind.
Yeah, that's why I'm not in screen. Yeah. Thanks again for this nice talk, Rob, and good luck with everything that you are.
Thank you. I follow you.
Sitting here with Hans Laurentius, my dear friend. We talked to each other a couple of times in Dutch,
Yeah.
and now for the first time in English.
Mm-hmm.
You give meetings,
Yeah.
and you talk to people one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting in the same couch I'm sitting right now,
Right.
and I see tissues here. Is this subject people, or the subjects people bring into this room, are they so loaded with things that make them cry?
Sometimes. Or they have a cold.
That can be also, yeah.
But sometimes emotional issues arise and, well, tears cannot be avoided always. So.
But you're no therapist.
No. But still, I sometimes confront people with issues or things. And that may hit. So,
Yeah.
and people start to cry or something releases and it gives a few tears. It's not that they're crying all the time. Mostly not. But it happens sometimes. So.
Yeah. And can you tell me why is it that when you touch something inside me that I haven't felt for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
that it automatically brings up a big emotional response?
Well, exactly like you said, because it's repressed for a long time. And basically everything seeks release. So it wants to be liberated.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes up and usually we hold it back. But if you don't, it just releases itself and it can bring tears or laughter or anger or silence.
Yeah. And how come we hold so much back?
we're afraid to feel everything. So as a child we learned to repress certain feelings because it's too overwhelming. And for a kid that's 4 years old, you can understand that when parents have a row, for instance, or somebody is drunk or whatever, it's very scary for the kid. It can't handle it. So there's a sort of emotional decision not to feel everything completely. And afterwards, when you're 30 or 40, you have really learned not to feel things properly. So it's an automatic system, a conditioning to hold it back, and the show must go on, and don't show your weakness, and because having emotions is considered weakness. It's not, it's just energy moving. And so we move along and withholding, repressing, and well, at some point it will burst. And it can be in a private session, but it can happen anywhere.
And is there a certain age until when that repressing no longer works, or is it different?
No, some people live to be 100 and are masters in repression. So, and some people usually get into a sort of a crisis, and then they cannot repress it anymore, and then a change may occur, or not.
May.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Because when I start feeling again all these emotions, I could grab a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Or wine.
Yeah, sure. Or run to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and if you're unlucky, he will give you some pills which will repress.
Yeah.
And in some cases, obviously, it's necessary, because if somebody's really exploding and getting psychotic or suicidal, something needs to happen, obviously. But usually, it's more helpful to teach people how to feel and observe. Then there is a change possible towards a more adult behavior or even awakening.
Yeah.
But it's only for some, so I get it that people grab onto something or some therapy which calms it down again, or start to meditate to be calm again, instead of allowing things to release themselves.
Yeah. And are these only things from my childhood, or also from, let's say, 2 years ago when my girlfriend broke up? Sure. And I didn't feel it at the time?
Everything that you didn't completely feel and didn't completely face.
But how do I know that I didn't completely feel or face?
You will notice when something similar happens.
Ah.
So if you have 2 breakups in the past and another one is pending, you will start to feel very anxious and uncertain, and will observe all kinds of unnatural behavior to avoid the repetition of that situation. Yeah. So you may start to please more or be aggressive. Depends on how your programming is.
Yeah.
And that's usually all kinds of old stuff mixing with the new stuff. But it's kind of similar, so you get a response based on the avoidance.
Yeah. So we start pleasing one another. We have to save this relationship.
Yeah, sure.
Not because that I love that girl or woman or man, but because I don't want to feel past breakups.
Yes, exactly. The terror is too big. You have the conviction that you cannot handle it, that you will go insane or die or something dramatic.
That's never the case.
It could be, but usually no.
No.
I sat with people feeling through quite intense stuff, and they didn't go mad and they didn't die. And if they experience that a couple of times, they get a new faith in their own system. They start to learn, hey, I believe that I cannot handle it, but the actuality teaches me that I can.
Yeah.
And then slowly it sinks in that it's more productive to sit with a strong feeling or walk with it and be with it, meet it, than to avoid it or start drinking or eating, whatever.
Yeah. So it's about the fear of feeling.
Yes, it's very important.
Okay, so if I understand you right, and we got that fear in childhood because we couldn't feel everything at that moment.
Yeah. We were unable.
Our system wasn't ready.
Yeah, the brain wasn't ready yet.
Yeah. And from what age is the brain ready? When you're fully grown, or 14, or can you say something about that?
It depends. Usually people tell me that at like 20, 22, the brain is completely equipped. But it all depends on circumstances. When you have the luck to grow up with really adults, they will probably teach you by words or experience that it's okay to feel sad, and they won't give you a cookie or a toy or tell you to shut up, or they will invite you to meet the feeling. Well, those kind of kids will probably have less resistance. Other kids who are constantly told shut the fuck up or are distracted all the time, kid is sad, put on the TV, give it a lollipop, they will never learn that it's better to meet. So it depends on the people around you too.
Yeah. I come from a Catholic family where everything was put under the carpet.
Yeah.
And when someone was really angry or sad or crying, shh, don't let the neighbors hear it.
Well, there you go.
That could
repression.
Be a condition also.
Yes, sure, that helps. Because the adults teach you to keep it in.
Yeah.
To not show, to not talk about it, to not...
Be a man.
Be a man, don't cry. Boys, don't cry.
The cure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it for men? Do you meet more men who have difficulty with expressing their feelings or feeling their feelings than women?
Yeah, it's a good distinction because it's basically about feeling the feelings,
not
not
expressing.
Talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
Which is a bore. People talking about their feelings all the time. Come on, you know.
And it's also postponing the feeling. Talking about the feelings is...
The funny thing is, when you really learn to feel through intense emotions, there will be hardly any need to talk about it, because when it's felt through, it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's hard to talk about something that is not there.
Yeah.
So all the talking about it, it's a little bit better than repressing it, because at least it moves a little, but it's not the end.
Yeah.
It's just helping it to move, but still we're not really feeling. And a lot of the talking will be about, why does this occur? Oh, poor me. Don't you think I'm pitiful? Or you gotta help me. You know, so it's still all in the ego domain. While feeling through is in essence an activity or a natural movement of consciousness. Consciousness meets everything immediately. It has no fear. It tends to move towards suffering instead of away from it. So in the natural state, what would I have to talk about emotionally? When it arises, it is seen and felt, and afterwards it will dissolve. There's hardly anything to talk about.
Yeah. So what we really are doesn't say no to...
No, it doesn't know no.
It doesn't
It
know
doesn't,
no.
no, it doesn't react anything.
Reject, yeah.
Yeah.
What does reject?
It's the fear system. So ego is a movement of fear. So the things we hear in our head, don't go there, don't feel this, or you'll go insane.
Yeah.
It's basically fear using words. And it's what we call thinking, but it's not thinking. It's fear talking. And we associate or identify with the fear talker.
Yeah.
That's what we call the false self or the ego.
Yeah.
It's always fear. Consciousness knows no fear. It meets everything. It's like this space, this room. We're totally welcome here. And we can dance or have a conversation or a fight. It's all cool.
Yeah. But there's something inside us, you call it the fear talker, that's a great statement, great name, that tries to avoid pain.
Yeah.
And does it also seek pleasure?
Yes, sure it does.
As a substitute or something
Yes,
to look at?
Yeah, to compensate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
No, I don't want this. Give me a happy movie. I can name, for example, when I'm at somebody's home and they have music on who is very melancholic, music that, is a little bit depressing.
Mhm.
I would say, oh man, please put on something happy.
Uh-huh.
Is that my
It could be.
fear
It
system?
could be a little bit of the fear that you don't want to feel your inner sadness.
Yeah,
So keep it happy, keep it, let's say, superficial.
yeah,
On the other hand, we can also have another movement that people tend to, no, let's make it more personal. I used to be depressed when I was a teenager. And sometimes the depressive feeling would tend to dissolve.
Mhm.
And what did I do? Smoke another joint, put on some depressing music,
Yeah.
so I went back into it. I was kind of addicted of feeling down. And a lot of people are very comfortable in a strange way with feeling not happy,
yeah,
because that's what they know. So a lot of people that I meet here as well, and we have a talk, they open up and they feel the natural state, which is relaxed and open and comfortable, not really bliss, not an ecstatic thing, but it's really good and quiet and complete. Within 5 or 10 minutes, thoughts will come up to try to fuck it up. Because they don't know how to be open and good.
yeah,
They don't know how to be happy for longer than, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Then there's some restlessness. If there's not a problem, who am I?
yeah. Osho gave a great talk about that, the attachment to misery.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. It's a strange phenomenon, but if you're starting to be aware of that, then you have a chance.
but does that attachment to misery gives us a sense of self?
Yes, exactly.
Me, the one who always gets the blame. Me,
Yeah.
who always
Mhm.
gets the bad stuff in his life.
Yes. Then you're somebody, something. You could even say that without a core of misery, who are you then?
Mm.
If there's no problem to be solved, if there's no
Drama.
drama, who am I without my problems?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? Yeah, that happened because my sister or my father
Mhm.
or my mother was
Yeah.
absent, or
Yeah,
that defines me.
yeah,
No, it doesn't, but we believe it does.
yeah. For example, my father has the same thing. I also have tinnitus in his ear,
Mm.
and he got it about 2 years ago when he was drilling holes in the how do you
In the
call
wall?
it? In the wall, yes.
Mhm.
And he, every time I see him, he talks to me. Oh, I shouldn't have got the tinnitus. I shouldn't have got it.
Yeah.
How could I be so stupid to drill those holes in the wall without using ear protection? Every time
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Well, there you go.
It has become his new identity.
Yes, yes.
Me, the tinnitus
Yeah.
sufferer.
Yeah, and give me attention because of that.
But what is the right way to respond to such thing? Not?
That there is not a ground rule. You know, when you're present, you can never know what you will do.
Mm-hmm.
It is unlikely, though, to move along and sing the sad song along with somebody. So maybe you will burst out in laughter at one moment, or the next time, shut the fuck up about it. Or it could be anything.
Yeah.
Or you could give him a hug,
Mm-hmm.
or give him earplugs anyway,
Yeah.
or give him a new drilling machine, which will drill some more,
Yeah.
maybe it will go.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Yeah. There are college teachers of yours who say, just go fully into the story with them.
Yeah, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But you cannot say that if this situation arises, that is the right
Yeah.
response.
Yeah.
Because then we're talking about rules.
Yeah.
Freedom knows no rules. So you never know.
Yeah. Freedom knows no rules.
Yeah, otherwise it's not freedom, but a code.
Yeah. And what we are is that freedom.
Yes. And if you live like that, you never know what you're going to do. And that's scary for the fear guy.
Why is that scary?
It likes to do things right. It's afraid to make mistakes. It's afraid to be judged or kicked out or not loved. Freedom isn't afraid of that, so
Yeah. And for you as living as that freedom, how does that work with friendships and relationships, and are they still important to you?
Yes, but not in the way as before. Not to fill a hole. Not like using your friends to get rid of anxiety, or what we talked about before. I used to be restless and fearful and anxious, so I surrounded myself with so-called friends all of the time. Did I really need to be with those friends? Was it love? I don't think so. I think it was an avoidance strategy.
Yeah.
When we would talk or make music or drink or whatever, or go to a pub or whatever, you didn't have to feel all this restlessness.
Yeah.
I think it was about that more. Not that I didn't also love them. Sure, it's always mixed. Now I don't even like that anymore. You know, going to a pub or seeking. When there's something in the system, the tendency is to look at it and feel it, and not to run to something or someone.
Yeah.
So friendships are still important, but it's without need.
Yeah. And that changes the quality of the friendship, or
It can also destroy it.
that people think, oh,
Yeah, he doesn't care about me.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't call every week.
yeah,
And I might say no when they want to come over or ask for some help, or
yeah.
it might be yes, it might be no, it might be I don't know. Where from the conditioned perspective, you always have to say yes.
Yeah, because we are friends.
We are friends, so
They're always 24 hours a day.
yes. And of course, when there's really something going on, and Eric, my best friend, calls, I will be in the car in 5 minutes, even though you're here, because I gotta help him. Maybe I'll ask you to come along. When it's really something, yeah, but sometimes, well, we make music together, Eric and me, and sometimes he is calling, he has a new idea, great. And I know he would like to visit within a few days. Well, we make an appointment for in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And I know he doesn't like to wait that long, I get that, but I don't feel like making music now.
yeah. People could say that is egocentric.
Yeah, sure. And they may.
Is that the case?
No, not for me. But everybody has the right of his own opinion, obviously. If I don't feel music, there is no point in coming together and fake music.
Yeah,
I might like to see him.
yeah,
So I told him for our next appointment, come on and bring your stuff and we'll listen to what you made. But I don't think we're gonna do something.
yeah.
But maybe we'll have a walk.
Also
That's
nice.
also nice.
Yeah.
And he knows me for like 30 years, so he knows what has changed and what not. So he's okay with it. But some people had a hard time with me not playing in the conventional expected roles.
Yeah.
Sure,
So it's about honesty. Also.
that's quite important, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. When you dare to be honest with yourself, that's a huge step already. You know,
And it translates to being honest to.
yeah, which does not mean, by the way, and that are mistakes I made in the past, and maybe still other ones have to judge that you always have to say what you think.
Yeah, for example, if I would ask you, what do you think about my new vest I'm wearing?
Yeah, then I wouldn't say what I think.
Well, I still think it's a beautiful vest. No, but I know what you mean. Do you still follow a little bit of rules we made into
No,
society?
no, it's not like that. But it's not about being unkind. So if I see that you are happy with your sweater or vest or whatever, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't really have an opinion about it.
No.
So when you're happy about it, I'll say, "Oh, glad you're happy about it."
Yeah. Yeah. We've been talking now for more than 20 minutes. We haven't used all the terms out of the Advaita world.
Good.
Yeah, you like that. am I sitting here with an Advaita teacher, or would
That's what I'm called.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and other ones say that I'm not true to the teaching. Well, whatever.
Yeah. Maybe we could call you a freedom teacher from now on then. Because freedom is a word that, you know, when I speak about it, even in English, it gives me a sense of joy. Freedom, it associates with vacation and being free and not bound, and I can do anything. So, Advaita, everybody who's watching this movie knows it's about the wholeness or the oneness. Is that right?
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use that term, but
What would you use?
reality, completeness, silence, freedom.
Mm-hmm. Am I talking to myself right now?
Yes. There's only you.
Yeah, that immediately brings up. I don't want to fill it in, but okay, we're filming this. It gives me goosebumps when you say that.
Okay, good.
Is that because I know deep down inside that
Yes.
that is the truth?
Everybody does.
Yeah.
And everybody longs for it and fears it.
Okay, that longing part I can understand, but the fear is why?
Fear of freedom. Again, when you follow rules, you know what you have to do. And you know how you're supposed to behave, and you will be a good member of the herd. When you're free,
Yeah.
nobody's going to tell you what to do. You have to figure it out on your own, in the moment. There are no rules. Anything goes. It's impossible to dramatize. It's impossible to complain. It's impossible to worry.
Yeah.
So who the fuck am I if I cannot worry or have goals in the future or be ambitious, or all the normal stuff is absent. So you're not, freedom isn't giving you anything, it takes everything away, you could say. That is scary for people. It almost feels like dying. I think it's over dramatizing stuff, because I don't feel dead at all. And I know that everything that is perceived is temporary, and everything that is perceived is basically me. It's all an extension of me, not the person. The Hans character doesn't, you know, it's not important. But everything perceived is also me. And the silence and that which is perceiving everything, it's whole.
So even if I take your house and your car away, you still think, well, it's now...
I don't know what I would think, but it wouldn't disturb the completeness.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that if somebody tries to steal your or my car,
No.
that I will sit by and go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nee.
Because again, there are no rules.
Yeah.
I might be fierce, or start to laugh, or, well, we're living in a forest, I might break off a branch and, okay, you take it, I break your arm.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
Or you could think, well, it was a stupid car anyway, let him have it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about a colleague of yours where I stay sometimes, Joannika, her whole farm.
Yeah, it burned down.
Burned
It
down.
was a beautiful place. Yeah.
And she was standing there, I was thinking, oh, look at the flames. Look how the paper is dancing on the flames. But the police officer standing next to her was saying, ma'am, you have to go inside, you're going insane.
Yeah.
And she said, hey, keep your fears to yourself. I'm enjoying the show.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
But later on, she got into a lot of trouble with also the insurance company, because they thought, well, this woman has said such crazy stuff when her farm was burning down.
She probably lit it herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. That's the ego versus the freedom. And the ego, the fear factor, can never understand a liberated being. Same thing happened to Osho, a guy, I was told, threw a knife at him at a seminar or whatever it was called. And he just moved to the side and the knife missed him, and he kept talking. So the police said that didn't happen, because you should be scared or angry or react to that.
Yeah. Great. So okay, how is it for you as freedom living in a world full of persons who are anxious and fearful all the time? Is this a great place to be then?
Yes, for a while. So there are basically two perspectives. From an absolute standpoint, there are no other creatures, so nobody's suffering. And that is not a thing, an opinion, but is something felt in the background. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, because consciousness moves, we talked about emotions earlier, consciousness moves towards things, so consciousness also moves toward people who are suffering. That's why the door is open, I guess, and I do what I do, because basically there's no reason to do it. It's all one anyway, to keep it simple. Still, this meeting capacity, moving towards things, is there. So this organism is just used to touch, with result or without result, to try to touch people, and maybe something happens.
Is this freedom, how do you call it, like radioactive stuff? Mm-hmm. Is it very contagious?
Only to those who are ready. So Ramana Maharshi used a way of explaining that. He said, say I am fire, and somebody comes along who is a wet block of wood. It will not catch fire immediately, it has to dry first. But if somebody brings a handful of straws, it will ignite immediately. So that all depends. So some people come here and they think, I don't get what the guy is talking about. Other people will be quiet almost immediately. Some people will get what I'm saying in 10 minutes, and others will come years on end to meetings or private sessions. And to me, it's all good. It doesn't make any difference. That there's no judgment. There's not the thought that a handful of straw is higher than a wet block of wood. Although, if the block of wood is still too wet, I might say, go do yoga for a year, or travel the world, or get a job, or stop your job. You know, the organism we're talking about will have to have different experiences before being ready.
So that's the way to get dry.
Yeah, you have to get dry.
Is it then about getting experience, or losing your old karma? What is it about? How to
Not necessarily karma, but in some cases, when the wood is wet, some changes need to be made, some different experiences. So if somebody is closing himself off and sitting in his room, I might advise him to go out. Go out into the world, travel, get a job, start performing. When you're scared of people, or when some other one is constantly filling his space with a lot of people, I might advise him to sit for 6 months on the top of a mountain in a cabin without a cell phone, and just be with himself. It could be anything.
So if a very important banker sits here on the couch and he's feeling miserable, you could say, stop your banking job.
Yeah, obviously, yes.
And do people follow your advice?
Usually not.
They think
the wet blocks usually don't. But still, a seed is planted. So usually they won't immediately do what is suggested. But it's in the system now. And if there is a small recognition, it will start to grind, and
it cannot be stopped.
No, but it can be postponed very long, but something will occur. People don't walk through this door just by chance. They already experienced some stuff
maybe they had a glimpse of truth, or they're in a crisis or whatever, or they read something.
Yeah, or in my case, tried out everything in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Except for gambling, I tried out everything in very massive states.
Mhm.
Well, gambling and drugs I didn't do, but
Mm-hmm.
and then you come to a point you think, this
Yeah, yeah.
will not work anymore.
Yes, exactly. So that's a ripening, and that has to occur. And well, you reach that state by living, by
Yeah.
experiencing things, by going for things and seeing this is not it.
Yeah,
So good for you.
yeah.
Next level.
It's exactly what your former colleague Alexander Smith says. You have to be filthy rich once. You have to be poor as a street rat.
Mm-hmm.
Just go out and
Exactly.
explore those.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then you know. And
Yeah.
then the moment can come that the attention, who is always outward, can go in looking for the essence, for the truth within.
yeah. There are some college teachers of yours who say, well, and I don't know if you agree with them, or if you say that life will bring you these things. You don't have to sit and wait for big things to occur.
Mm-hmm.
They occur all the time.
Basically, they do.
So it doesn't have to be, we're now talking about big things, being rich, being
Mhm.
poor, but can it also be in waiting in line in the supermarket
Yes, of course.
and getting agitated and thinking, what a stupid supermarket?
Mm-hmm.
That's also,
Yes, everything points towards the duality of being free or being not.
mm-hmm,
And both things will be put constantly in our face.
mm-hmm,
And at a certain moment, we'll be aware enough to notice the difference. Hey, this is strange. I was in line waiting and I felt good.
yeah,
And yesterday, I felt like killing the cashier. What's going on?
yeah,
You know, or other things, little things that you feel during life drop away, that you always used to be
Yeah.
sad about this, and now you're perfectly cool with it.
yeah,
Something happened.
yeah. But it doesn't mean that nothing will touch you anymore.
No, surely not.
You
But
still,
there won't be any resistance. So from a freedom standpoint, strange language, there still can be feelings and being touched by something or moved, but there's no resistance. So
Yeah.
it goes through the system exactly as it wants to move through the system, and then it's gone.
yeah.
So it doesn't take much time.
So still, when you watch a movie, you can get emotional during a scene where some dog dies, or
Yeah, especially something like that.
Yeah, okay, because some people think, well, this Advaita stuff, this is about shutting off your feeling and just
No.
being like a robot all the time.
Absolutely not. It's the falling away of the resistance
Yeah,
and the judgments. So if the system has to be sad right now, it will be allowed to be sad. And then it will be gone again. But the sadness will not be felt as a problem or something bad or negative.
something to
Because-
get rid of. Yeah,
No, exactly. Because basically, emotions are energy. The guy I know said emotion is energy, emotion.
yeah,
That's nice. So, whether it's a red energy or a blue energy, it's energy. There is no negative energy.
Mhm.
You know, but from the ego standpoint, happiness or love or attention will be seen as positive,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
sadness and jealousy will be labeled negative.
yeah,
From consciousness standpoint,
all the
it's
same.
it's just energy moving.
Yeah.
So what?
Another thing that is talked about frequently in these Advaita circles is the free will. People I hang around with,
Mhm.
I'm not saying everybody. Can you tell us something about that, Hans? Did I come out of free will here to talk to you in English?
No, of course not.
It just happened.
Yes, it happened because of a lot of movements and happenings in the past, which put you on this path.
For example, me learning English in school.
That's a part of it. And what you earlier said, trying out this, trying out that, and it all didn't work. And then at some point, non-duality came in view, and you started to look into that, and you discovered that I and some other people were talking about that. And you didn't control that. You didn't decide when you were 8. When I don't know what your age is.
41.
41. I'm gonna sit with Hans and have a little chat in English. I didn't either.
No, I think I would call you crazy if you told me this is at 21. In 20 years, you're going to do interviews about something called Advaita.
Yeah, exactly.
So that says
it just occurs.
Yeah.
All kinds of energies are moving us in different directions. And everybody knows this. You're walking in the street and suddenly you see somebody and you're struck by lightning and you go after him or her. And because you do, and you start living together and you may have kids, you move to another place, you meet new people. Did you do that? It happened.
Yeah. No doer.
No doer. And free will, when you feel will, I want this, it's not free, it's force.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
So of course there is will or wanting something, but it's not free.
No.
It overcomes you, or it gets you, and you have to be a soccer player, or you have to steal the camera, or whatever it is.
That's what most people tell you when they're full of something. They say, I couldn't do otherwise.
Voila.
It had to be done.
Yes. So there is no free will. That's insane.
Still, the jails are full of people who have been told that it's their fault.
Yes. That's the way we organize things.
Yeah.
Because it's all from the separate perspective. So when we think we're all separate beings, you're responsible.
Yeah.
I get that. So when I'm driving with the car and I drive into somebody, I will not say, there's nobody here and it's all consciousness moving. I will say sorry.
Yeah.
Or asshole,
you
had to let me go, or whatever comes. But I won't make an Advaita excuse.
No.
Because nobody thinks like that, And when everybody would think, it won't happen, but would think like that, I wouldn't have to explain anything.
Yeah. Still, I can imagine that you are quite a popular Advaita teacher, or giving meetings. A lot of people come to you and they think, or maybe they do, look up to you.
Yeah.
They think, he's the man that represents freedom for me.
Yeah.
I have to be near him all the time. I have to visit all his meetings, read all his books. What would you say to someone like that?
It's irrelevant what I try to say, because they will still perceive me as they perceive me. But often in satsang or in meetings, I say, you don't know nothing about me. You only see me when I perform, when I'm on duty, being the teacher. But I'm not a teacher. The teacher is a role. Later on I'll be the dog walker, or the typist, or the cleaner, or so they don't know me.
You once said in our Dutch interview, don't mistake the mailman who brings the love letter.
Yes, with the letter.
Yeah, the love letter is the thing that it's about, not the man who brings it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So every organism, including this one and that one, is flawed. That's okay. But it's about the message and not about the messenger.
Yeah.
But that's a mistake, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
We always do that, and that's why there are a lot of trouble in spirituality in general, because people have perceptions, and then moving on they start to see, but he still does this or that or whatever for me or anybody, and then they're disappointed or angry. And of course there are people out there who are not about truth or really spirituality, but about power. Well, that's part of the learning game.
Yeah. But still, people had a lot of comments on Osho with his 24 Rolexes and limousines.
Yeah.
Could a mass murderer bring this message?
Yes.
Don't think a lot of people would come and visit him and believe him?
No, or live through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything is possible. It's not likely, but anything is possible. That's one of the funny things about this dream theater.
Mm-hmm.
Anything goes. Usually things go like this and this and this, but sometimes,
Yeah.
you know, most of the time, when we talked about the wet wood and the straw, sometimes somebody comes in and I think, oh my God, the water is leaking out,
Yeah.
you know?
How does that?
And within 3 or 4 meetings,
Yeah.
something is changed completely. So I was wrong.
Hmm.
And sometimes, usually I have it right, and sometimes I think, oh, this one is a piece of cake, you know. I only have to say this and that, and then he'll get it.
Yeah.
And a year later, he still didn't get it. So I was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very funny. But anything is possible.
Yeah. Still about that worshipping you. Isn't it really also a childish thing? When I was a child, I was fan of a group called Doe Maar, the famous Dutch group.
Yeah.
Because their music touched me, it gave me a
Mhm.
great feeling. It was freedom to me, and then I thought, oh, it's because of these guys. It's these guys who bring freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the same right now for people who are 40, 50 years old. They become a fan of Hans Laurentius, and they forget about that it's not about Hans Laurentius, it's about what he's saying and where he's pointing at. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's unavoidable. And before, when I had the center, it was worse than now.
Your own
Because
sense,
because then there is a steady
A
place.
fan base.
Yeah, which kind of goes to feeling like home for
Ah,
visitors, you
yeah.
know, when it's there for 10 years. And there it was worse. And now there are loose meetings and some weekend retreats, and so it's more free.
Yeah.
And I'm a little more blunt these days than I was. I basically say the same, and I was confrontational always, but it's got a little worse. Maybe because of that. I don't want that. I'm not seeking adoration. I'm trying to find a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, consciousness basically is trying to find a way to make consciousness see.
Yeah.
It's impersonal, but people take it personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, of course, that's their reference point,
Yeah.
but it's not mine.
They do not know better. And,
No.
they did the same with Jesus.
Yes, of course, and there's no reason to blame them, but you can try to play with it to wake them up out of that.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes ignore, and not by planning,
Yeah.
but sometimes somebody is ignored, and then later on comes to me or she comes to me, I was pissed off at you. Why? What did I do? You didn't even look at me.
Oh. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.